Chapter 888. Boss Yi-chun, I won't go to the Three Immortal Island, but I want to know which country you want to attack first. Please tell us. That's right. Boss Yi-chun, tell us which country you want to attack first. This way, we can prepare quickly and go directly. Yi-chun, I'm the sect master of the star-picking sect. Let's make a deal. Give us 1/10 of the Three Immortal Island. As long as you agree, the star-picking sect will be at your disposal for 10 years from now on. Benefactor Yi, the Three Immortal Island is a gift from God to our human clan. Benefactor Yi, don't be too selfish and take it for yourself. Otherwise, it will damage the destiny of our human clan. Umitba, Yi of Gojoseon, the Three Immortal Island is the property of all the players in the Eastern Gaming area. You can't take it all away, can you? Let's make a deal. Let's all go to the island and choose one. How about it? Yi of Gojoseon, the Qingcheng sect will be at your disposal for 100 years. We only want 1/5 of the Three Immortal Island. The World Channel was full of comments. It was very lively. Yi-chun glanced at the noisy World Channel and curled his lips disdainfully. Sure enough, these hidden forces jumped out because of the opening of the Three Immortal Island. In Yi-chun's previous life, the hidden forces could have ascended to the untainted land, but they stayed in the novice area of the Three Kingdoms. In fact, they did so for the Three Immortal Island. Now, the Three Immortal Island had been opened by Yi-chun. It would be strange if these hidden forces who had targeted the Three Immortal Island did not jump out. It was precisely because Yi-chun had already guessed this that he was not shocked when the hidden faction suddenly jumped out of the water. His conditions were very attractive. Unfortunately, this was only for other people. It was useless for him. The hidden forces certainly did not want to give up the Three Immortal Island. However, the person who opened the Three Immortal Island was Yi-chun, the #1 player. The hidden forces had no way to deal with him at all. Therefore, they all took a step back and wanted to use the empty promise of working for Yi-chun in exchange for the heavenly materials and earthly treasures on the Three Deity Island. If it was someone else, they might feel that the suggestion of a hidden force was worth it. After all, each of those hidden forces was quite powerful and had a strong foundation. They also knew a lot of information about cultivation. If he could get the hidden forces to work for him, he would definitely not be at a disadvantage. But Yi-chun was not just anyone. To be more precise, Yi-chun did not need the help of the hidden forces, nor did he need the information on cultivation that the hidden forces knew. The reason was simple. After Yi-chun's rebirth, the secrets and information he knew were far from what those hidden forces could compare to. Of course, more importantly, Yi-chun was now in the tribulation passing stage. He was one step away from becoming an immortal. Moreover, the strength of his army far exceeded that of all the hidden forces. Therefore, Yi-chun did not need the hidden forces to pledge their loyalty to him, nor did he need them to work for him. This was just on the surface. If one were to look deeper into the matter, who the hell knew if the empty promise of the hidden forces could be honored? At least, Yi-chun could not confirm this point. One had to know that in this world, the so-called integrity, kindness, and so on had long disappeared. To be more precise, those who could live until now were not good people. Yi-chun would not believe the hidden forces just because of their so-called promise. If Yi-chun really did so, then Yi-chun would be cultivating an ingrate for himself. Yi-chun naturally would not do such a stupid thing. A group of self-righteous idiots. This time, they were probably going to be angered. If they were angry, then so be it. It would be best if they were angered to death, lest I have to make a move. Thinking of this, Yi-chun curled his lips in disdain and looked at the World Channel again. In the next second, a sentence appeared out of thin air on the World Channel. Reincarnation Immortal City's first target is Japan. On the World Channel, apart from the individual players who had ulterior motives and wanted to take a share of the pie from the Three Immortal Island, there were also various major forces and hidden forces. There were also many people who wanted to know where Yi-chun would attack first after the border barrier disappeared. What were they thinking? Without a doubt, they wanted to follow behind Yi-chun and attack the country that Yi-chun wanted to attack. If it was anything else, Yi-chun would not say anything. However, Yi-chun was very happy to see this. After all, Yi Qin's main purpose of going abroad to fight was to plunder the province of all the countries abroad. In order to do this, Yi Qin would need to invest a lot of troops and a lot of time without the participation of other players. This was something that could not be helped. It was easy for Yi Qin to destroy a country, but plundering the providence of heaven and earth was a long-term task. Therefore, Yi Qin liked to see the players following behind the Reincarnation Immortal City's army, because this would allow Yi Qin to save a lot of time and troops in his plan to plunder the providence of heaven and earth. It was also because of this reason that Yi Qin directly spoke on the World Channel and told all the players who their first target was. As soon as Yi Qin's words appeared on the World Channel, it instantly caused the World Channel to pause for 3 seconds. 3 seconds later, the World Channel exploded. Wah! Boss Yi Qin finally spoke. Hee, I told you. Boss Yi Qin is a descendant of the Yellow Emperor. His first target will definitely be the Japanese. Damn, I guessed it right, okay? And I'm now at the border barrier between the Great Han Dynasty and Japan. Damn, I guessed it right too. But I'm not there, because everyone has to make way for Boss Yi Qin when he arrives. Hee, are you dumbfounded? Damn, if you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten about it. I'll stop the warship at the side and make way for him. Damn, I have to get off the warship quickly too. I don't want to block Boss Yi Qin's path. Hee, I'll set off immediately. Brothers, wait for me. It's time to kill the Japanese. Damn, you just set off. After I saw Boss Yi Qin's words, I set off immediately. I don't want to fall behind when it comes to killing the Japanese. I used to be unconvinced by Yi Qin, but now I'm convinced. Not only am I convinced, I want to give Yi Qin 10,000 likes. Kill the Japanese. Kill them all. That's a must. Kill all the Japanese and snatch their women. Damn, I agree. +1. +10086. The World Channel was in an uproar. Yi Qin couldn't help but raise his eyebrows when he saw it. Not bad. Although the Eastern players had changed a lot due to the world's metamorphosis, most of them still had the courage in their bones. Thinking of this, Yi Qin looked down at the 3 Immortal Island that had already been revealed. It's about time. I'll take the 3 Immortal Island and go to the border to wait for the barrier to be lifted. Chapter 889. Thinking of this, Yi Qin narrowed his eyes. He raised his right hand and grabbed at the floating 3 Immortal Island. Boom! 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 There were 3 explosive sounds of seawater crashing into each other. In the next second, the 3 Immortal Island rose into the sky and flew straight toward Yi Qin. If someone saw this scene, they would be stunned and then curse, "Freak!" How could it not be freak? The 3 islands, which were not smaller than the Reincarnation Fairy Island, were taken by Yi Qin at the same time. How powerful must he be to be able to do this? In fact, Yi Qin could not take the 3 Immortal Islands so easily if it were not for the Hong Meng Immortal Qi, the foundation of Taoism. Yi Qin's mind sense had directly reached the Earth Immortal Realm. Of course, this was just an assumption. The real situation was that Yi Qin's mind sense had really reached the Earth Immortal Realm. If that wasn't the case, Yi Qin would have to directly land on the island, then cut it into pieces and put it into his small world. Boom, boom, boom. A large amount of seawater flowed down from the 3 Immortal Island as it rose into the sky, and then a large water curtain appeared. After a few breaths, the 3 Immortal Island had completely left the sea and then flew toward Yi Qin at a high speed. When the 3 Immortal Island was 10 meters away from Yi Qin, it suddenly disappeared without a trace. At this moment, the system's prompt suddenly sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Qin for obtaining the 3 Immortal Island. As soon as the system's prompt ended, a world announcement suddenly sounded. Ding! The special treasure 3 Immortal Island has been obtained by player Yi Qin. As player Yi Qin is 100% sure to obtain the 3 Immortal Island, player Yi Qin is specially rewarded with a special title, Plunderer. The world announcement was repeated 3 times in a row, and the World Channel was once again bustling with noise and excitement. Damn! Damn! So fast. I just set off, and Yi Qin took the 3 Immortal Island away? Idiot! What does it have to do with you how I took it away? That's right. He's just a clown. To think that he wants to snatch Boss Yi Chen's 3 Immortal Island. Why doesn't he take a piss and look at himself in the mirror? What does he look like? Benefactor Yi, the 3 Immortal Island concerns the great cause of the human race. Benefactor Yi, please think twice before you act. Liao Kong of the Myriad Buddha Temple thanks you. F***CK. Damn, Baldy, you're so generous. How come I didn't see you being so generous before? Motherf **Ker, I know this bald donkey. Motherf **Ker, the elixir I found outside the city the other day was snatched away by this bald donkey's disciple. He even said something about it being fated with me. F***CK. Yu of Gojoseon, the previous proposal of the Qingchang sect is still valid. As long as you are willing to give the Qingchang sect 1/5 of it, the whole Qingchang sect will be at your disposal. The World Channel was in an uproar. After Yi Chun took a look, he couldn't help but frown. Yi Chun knew that the hidden factions were unwilling to give up the 3 Immortal Island. After all, the 3 Immortal Island was the biggest target of all the hidden factions in the beginner's area of the 3 kingdoms. However, what Yi Chun did not expect was that among these hidden factions, the Myriad Buddha Temple actually popped out. This name had never appeared in Yi Chen's previous life. In Yi Chen's previous life, the Buddhist faction had only appeared after the players had ascended to the primordial world. Now, not only had the Buddhist faction appeared in advance, but there was also a Myriad Buddha Temple that Yi Chun had never heard of in his previous life. How could Yi Chun, who had noticed this, not be puzzled? Damn it, Myriad Buddha Temple, Liao Kong, who is it? By the way, when I activated the 3 Immortal Island just now, a monk seemed to have appeared. However, he didn't mention the Myriad Buddha Temple or his Dharma name, Liao Kong. The person who spoke on both occasions should be the same person. With this in mind, Yi Chen's eyes immediately narrowed as a cold glint flashed in them. Buddhists were supposed to save all living beings from suffering and distress. Unfortunately, after the world changed, Buddhists didn't do so at all. To be more precise, the Buddhist faction that appeared after the meteor fell was like the Zhuandi of the primordial world. They were the same kind of people. They used the guise of mercy or raised the banner of "this thing is fated with me" to plunder wantonly. That's right, it was plunder. Not only did they plunder people, but they also plundered all kinds of cultivation resources in the name of saving the world. If others were willing, everything was negotiable. If they weren't, a group of bald donkeys would not hesitate to take action and snatch away all kinds of things that they fancied, including women. That's right, women. Didn't Buddhists engage in sexual pleasures? How could they snatch women? At first glance, it didn't make sense at all. However, one shouldn't forget that Buddhists had the Mandapa Buddha who didn't abstain from sexual pleasures. As for whether the monk who snatched women was a disciple of the Mandapa Buddha, Yi Chun wasn't sure. However, this wasn't important. What was important was that the Buddhist faction that appeared after the meteor fell was completely different. What benevolence? What kindness? What saving the world? It was all just a pretense. This could be easily seen from what Myriad Buddha Temple's Liao Kong had just said and the curses and accusations of a few players. To be more precise, no matter how good Liao Kong's words were, his goal was the natural treasures on the 3 Immortal Island. What was related to the human race? What was for the human race? It was all nonsense. Yi Chun was certain that if he didn't take action and take away the 3 Immortal Island, it would only be divided by the hidden factions in the end and not be distributed equally to everyone. If Myriad Buddha Temple chose to participate in this process and everyone believed Liao Kong's words, all the resources on the 3 Immortal Island would run to Myriad Buddha Temple and not the players. Of course, this was a hypothesis. In fact, even if Liao Kong participated, no one would believe him. One had to know that since the fall of the meteor, none of the people who had survived until now were simple people. Therefore, it was impossible for the players to choose to give up their benefits just because of the monks' hypocritical words. And the result of this was that the Buddhist monks would fight with other players. The winner would get everything, and the loser would lose everything. This was something that Yi Chun had seen many times in his previous life. It was also because of this reason that Yi Chun didn't have a good impression of the Buddhists. F asterisk CK. The Buddhists actually jumped out and came to find trouble with me. They better not meet me, or I'll kill them all. Thinking of this, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened as a cold light flashed. In the next second, Yi Chen looked straight at the three immortal island that had been taken into the small world. After a few breaths, Yi Chen couldn't help but be stunned. Then his eyes suddenly widened. F asterisk CK. I know that there are many good things on the three immortal island, but there are too many good things. It was no wonder that Yi Chen was shocked. After all, on the three immortal island, there were 28 god-tier face retaining fruit trees of the lowest grade. The rest were higher-level existences. Not only were there many types, but there were also a large number of them. Chapter 890. Damn it. No wonder those hidden forces in the previous life were so obsessed with the three immortal island. They would rather delay their ascension than give up the three immortal island. But now, the three immortal island belongs to me. When this world war is over, I will upgrade the innate bones of all my soldiers and let them cultivate with all their might. Yi Chen had set the three immortal island as his goal from the very beginning. He wanted to cultivate his soldiers. Only when his soldiers were strong could Yi Chen explore the eldritch world more easily. Now that Yi Chen had the three immortal island, he would not waste the various heavenly treasures, spiritual herbs on the island. However, he had to leave 1 or 2 spiritual herbs and immortal herbs. Otherwise, when the small world was fully grown, it would be bad if there were no seeds. Yi Chen had a small world that could grow infinitely. As long as the small world was fully grown, Yi Chen could set a special time rule and use the small world as a cultivation base for spiritual herbs, immortal herbs, and divine herbs. Then he could mass-produce spiritual herbs, immortal herbs, and divine herbs. This was also the reason why Yi Chen had purposely left behind 1 or 2 spirit herbs and immortal herbs on the three immortal island as seeds to nurture spirit herbs. At the thought of this, Yi Chen could not help but smile. Then, with a thought, the space in front of him became distorted. After taking a look at the distorted space, Yi Chen stepped into it and disappeared. Outside the reincarnation immortal city, in the main hall of the city governor's mansion, the space suddenly became distorted. Then, Yi Chen appeared. The moment Yi Chen appeared, Gui Yi, Pang Tong, Jia Su, Chun Gong, and Tian Feng, who had come to the city governor's mansion, hurriedly stood up and bowed to Yi Chen. "Greetings, master." When Yi Chen heard this, he smiled and nodded. Then, with a thought, the space in front of the reincarnation immortal island in the sky suddenly became distorted. In the next second, the reincarnation immortal island flew in and disappeared. At the border of the Great Han Empire in Japan, the space suddenly distorted, and a huge floating island appeared. As soon as the reincarnation immortal island appeared, the players on the warships below looked up at the sky in unison. In the next second, earth-shattering cheers rang out. "Ha ha! Yi of Gojoseon's Enchanted Island. This is Yi Yu of Gojoseon's Enchanted Island. Yi Yu of Gojoseon is here." I knew it. Since Yi Yu of Gojoseon said on the World Channel that his first stop is Japan, there's no way he won't come. Just now, there was an idiot who said that Yi Yu of Gojoseon was lying. Damn, there's no need to believe those idiots. They didn't think about Yi Yu of Gojoseon's status and identity. Why would he lie to others? That's right. Anyway, when Yi Yu of Gojoseon said that his first stop was Japan, I directly teleported to the seaside city, bought a ship, and came here. Me too. But then again, there are a lot of people here this time. Look at those endless ships. There are at least tens of millions of them. How many people are there? I think it's at least hundreds of millions. Damn, there's still so many people alive now. Damn, this is a lot. Think about it. Before the meteor fell, how many people were there in the East? How many are there now? Damn, what's the point of talking about this? The most important thing now is to follow boss Yi Chen and kill the Japanese. That's right, killing the Japanese is the most important thing. While the players were discussing the appearance of Yi Chen's reincarnation celestial island, Yi Chen, who was in the main hall of the reincarnation immortal city governor mansion, looked at Gui Yi and said, "Feng Shao map. Yes, my lord. When Gua Yi heard Yi Chen's words, he hurriedly took a step forward and bowed. Then he raised his right hand and pointed at the void. With a buzzing sound, a vertical three-dimensional map with an area of several hundred square meters instantly appeared outside the hall. Yi Chen took a look at the 3D map outside the hall, which clearly showed the border barrier and the tens of millions of player warships. He nodded in satisfaction before looking at Gua Yi, Chun Gong, Peng Tong, Jia Su, and Tian Feng and said, "Let's go." Although the army of Reincarnation Immortal City is powerful, there are bound to be accidents on the battlefield. All of you must do your best and not slack off. Yes, my lord. When Gui Yi, Chun Gong, Tian Feng, Jia Su, and Peng Tong heard Yi Chen's words, they bowed in unison. When Yi Chen heard this, he nodded and flew straight to the Reincarnation Immortal Valley. In the Reincarnation Immortal Valley, there were many spears and flags. The 41 million soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City stood behind their generals, waiting for the arrival of the Reincarnation Immortal City. When Yi Chen arrived, he looked at the army of Reincarnation Immortal City on the ground and shouted, "Prepare! Navy, get ready!" Swoosh! The 300,000 Navy soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City gripped their spears tightly in their right hands. When Yi Chen saw this, he nodded in satisfaction. He then looked at Han Dang, Chung Pu, and Gan Ning and shouted, "Once the border is opened, all of you will be the vanguard. Destroy all the enemy ships and kill all the enemies. Don't let anyone escape." "Yes, my lord." When Han Dang, Chung Pu, and Gan Ning heard this, their faces turned serious. They then bowed to Yi Chen and said loudly. When Yi Chen heard this, he nodded and sent out a thought. In the next second, the 300,000 heaven-grade, ocean-suppressing warships made by the shipyard of Reincarnation Immortal City using dark ironwood disappeared. Outside the border, the space between the two sides of the player army suddenly twisted. Then, ocean-suppressing warships that were 100 meters tall, 300 meters wide, and 3,000 meters long appeared on the sea one after another. They then created huge waves. Damn, this is EU of Gojoseon's warships? Isn't this a little too big? Yeah, I thought my warships were big enough. I didn't expect EU of Gojoseon's warships to be even bigger. It's like a giant. What grade is this warship? It should be at least Earth grade, right? I'm not sure, but I have a feeling that it won't be lower than Earth grade. Such a giant warship can do whatever it wants on the sea. Of course, who would dare to touch such a big warship? While the players were shocked by the size of the ship, Yi Chen, who was in the Reincarnation Celestial Valley, waved his right hand, and the 300,000 Navy soldiers disappeared. In the next second, the 300,000 Navy soldiers appeared on the ocean-suppressing warships. If someone saw that there was only one soldier on each ocean-suppressing warship, they would immediately realize that the true grade of the ocean-suppressing warships was heaven grade. This was because only heaven-grade warships had the ability to attack, move, and ram automatically. Chapter 891. In the Reincarnation Immortal Valley, Yi Chen, who had sent the 300,000 Navy soldiers to the warships, waved his right hand, and Han Dang, Chung Pu, and Gan Ning instantly disappeared. In the next second, they appeared on the flagship of the Reincarnation Immortal City's enormous fleet. At the same time, 300,000 banners with the word Yi rose from the flagship and fluttered in the wind. Yi Chen glanced at the Reincarnation Immortal City's fleet below the Reincarnation Immortal Island with his consciousness and nodded in satisfaction. Right at that moment, Yi Chen suddenly thought of something and was startled. Holy shit, I seem to have forgotten about the Pre-Chin 12 bronze men. Wait a minute. He hadn't seen the Pre-Chin 12 bronze men when he'd checked the 3 Immortal Island. When Yi Chen had pursued Lu Bu Wei, he'd obtained 3 of the Pre-Chin 12 bronze men. Later, the 3 bronze men had asked Yi Chen to refine them. The cauldron of heaven and earth had automatically jumped out and removed all the mortal materials within the bronze men. In the end, the Pre-Chin 12 bronze men had evolved into the Khanate bronze men of destiny. It was also at that time that Yi Chun had discovered the Khanate bronze men of destiny's freakishness. Not only did they have the heavenly spirits earth demons formation, but they could also suppress the providence of heaven and earth, disrupt heavenly secrets, prevent probing and deduction, and even duplicate formations. After that, Yi Chun aimed the duplicated formations at the demon race's heavenly cycle star formation and the witch race's great 12 divine ray formation. Once these two formations were duplicated and another powerful formation was created, the Khanate 12 bronze men would become a super freakish existence. It was also for this reason that Yi Chun had interrogated Lu Buwei about the exact location of the remaining 7 pre-Qin 12 bronze men, excluding the 2 in the Luoyang Imperial Palace's secret vault. In the end, Yi Chun got the information he wanted from Lu Buwei. In other words, the last 7 of the pre-Qin 12 bronze men were on the 3 Immortal Island. However, the problem was that Yi Chun hadn't seen the pre-Qin 12 bronze men on the 3 Immortal Island when he'd taken it. Then, because Yi Chun had to participate in the World War, he neglected the pre-Qin 12 bronze men. Now that Yi Chun had finished deploying his troops, he naturally recalled the matter that he had overlooked. Lu Buwei probably wasn't lying back then. Thinking of this, Yi Chun's mind stirred. His divine sense instantly entered the small world and locked onto the 3 Immortal Island. After a few breaths, Yi Chun suddenly opened his eyes and raised his divine sense to the maximum. Then he saw the 7 pre-Qin 12 bronze men hidden inside the 3 Immortal Island. Seeing this, Yi Chun couldn't help but frown. Damn it, they all went to the inside of the 3 Immortal Island. Was it man-made? Or did the pre-Qin 12 bronze men go in by themselves? No matter how he got in, it was good that he found it. Thinking of this, Yi Chun's powerful divine sense instantly rushed into the interior of the 3 Immortal Islands, and then took out the pre-Qin 12 bronze men hidden in the 3 Immortal Islands. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for obtaining the pre-Qin 12 bronze men X7. As soon as the system's prompt ended, Yi Chun couldn't help raising his eyebrows. There were still the last 2. Thinking of this, Yi Chun's mind stirred, and the space in front of him instantly distorted. Glancing at the distorted space, Yi Chun's right hand reached into the distorted space. At the same time, in the secret warehouse of the Luoyang Imperial Palace, the space next to the 2 pre-Qin 12 bronze men, which were stored in the corner and covered in cobwebs, suddenly distorted. Then, a right hand appeared out of thin air. In the next second, the 2 pre-Qin 12 bronze men, which were more than 10 meters tall, quickly shrank and were then grabbed by the right hand that suddenly appeared. The moment the 2 pre-Qin 12 bronze men were grabbed by the right hand retracted and then disappeared without a trace. In the reincarnation Immortal Valley, Yi Chun, who had obtained the 2 pre-Qin 12 bronze men in the secret warehouse of the Luoyang Imperial Palace, couldn't help raising his eyebrows. At this moment, the system's prompt suddenly sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for obtaining pre-Qin 12 bronze men X2. As soon as the system's prompt ended, Yi Chun let out a long sigh. They were all gathered. However, he was still one step away. Thinking of this, Yi Chun's mind stirred. 9 drops of essence blood instantly appeared and dripped onto the bodies of the 9 pre-Qin 12 bronze men. At this moment, a bloody light shone brightly, and a mysterious and indescribable connection appeared between Yi Chun and the 9 pre-Qin 12 bronze men. At this moment, 9 messages of request to refine came directly from the 9 pre-Qin 12 bronze men that Yi Chun had just subdued. Sensing this, Yi Chun summoned the cauldron of heaven and earth without hesitation. Then, he waved his right hand at the 9 pre-Qin 12 bronze men. In the next second, the 9 pre-Qin 12 bronze men flew up and rushed toward the cauldron of heaven and earth. At this moment, the lid of the cauldron of heaven and earth flew up automatically. Then, the 9 pre-Qin 12 bronze men flew into it. Seeing this, Yi Chun waved his right hand. 9 balls of red lotus hellfire flew into the cauldron of heaven and earth and landed on the bodies of the 9 pre-Qin 12 bronze men. Boom, boom, boom. 9 violent explosions sounded. Then, the red lotus hellfire that landed on the bodies of the 9 preteen, 12 bronze men burned fiercely. Clang! At this moment, the lid of the cauldron of heaven and earth flew back automatically and covered the cauldron of heaven and earth. At the same time, the Khanate's supreme treasure, the cauldron of heaven and earth, vibrated. Buzz! An extremely mysterious aura erupted from the cauldron of heaven and earth. Time passed slowly. Under the dual refinement of the red lotus hellfire and the cauldron of heaven and earth, the 9 preteen 12 bronze men in the cauldron of heaven and earth had their mortal components reduced rapidly. After 10 minutes, the cauldron of heaven and earth suddenly shook. Then, the lid of the cauldron of heaven and earth flew up automatically. At this moment, a system notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi-chun. The preteen 12 bronze men have evolved into Khanate bronze men of destiny. After 9 consecutive notifications, the 9 reborn Khanate bronze men of destiny flew out of the cauldron of heaven and earth. At this moment, 9 powerful and mysterious auras appeared from the 9 Khanate bronze men of destiny and soared into the sky. After a few breaths, the 9 powerful and mysterious auras exploded 10,000 meters in the sky. Boom! 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 At this moment, the sea of clouds churned and the world roared. This was a declaration from the Khanate bronze men of destiny. They wanted to tell the world one thing. They were born. Looking at the 9 Khanate bronze men of destiny that were reborn to their heart's content, Yi-chun couldn't help but smile. Then, with a thought, the 3 Khanate bronze men of destiny that Yi-chun had previously obtained appeared instantly. Looking at the 12 Khanate bronze men of destiny floating in the sky, Yi-chun raised his right hand and pointed at the void. After a buzz, the 12 Khanate bronze men of destiny scattered and arrived at the edge of the reincarnation fairy island in the blink of an eye. Boom! 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 After a series of landing sounds, the 12 Khanate bronze men of destiny landed on the ground in unison. Yi-chun, who had released his mind sense, saw this and his eyes widened. Then he shouted, "Formation rise!" Buzz, buzz, but the 12 Khanate bronze men of destiny shook, and then their bodies grew rapidly. In the blink of an eye, 9 of them were 10,000 meters tall. At the same time, beams of golden light appeared from the 12 Khanate bronze men of destiny and connected with each other. In the next second, beams of golden light appeared out of nowhere and enveloped the reincarnation fairy island firmly. The heaven spirit earth demon's formation was completed. At this moment, the system notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi-chun for being the first to obtain the city guarding formation and successfully set it up. Special reward: Khanate attribute points x 3000. Chapter 892. As soon as the system notification ended, the players below the reincarnation fairy island who were watching from time to time were stunned. Then, they burst into an uproar. Damn! What is that? It should be a treasure. Otherwise, how could it grow so big? Damn! Look, it's emitting golden light. It's on a light shield. Look. Why does it look like a protective shield? It doesn't matter what it is. Don't forget how crazy this game is. It's not strange for anything to appear. Moreover, this thing was made by Yi Yu of Gojoseon. Just as the players were discussing the changes in the reincarnation fairy island, a world announcement suddenly sounded. Ding! The countdown to the disappearance of the border barrier begins. 10, 3, 2, 1, pop! With a crisp sound, the border barrier suddenly disappeared. At the same time, on the other side of the border, the folding shore navy, which had far more warships than the eastern players, appeared instantly. Damn! These bandits are indeed cunning. They have been waiting here for a long time. If Boss Yi-chun hadn't made the folding shore their first stop, these bandits would have rushed to the Great Han Dynasty and attacked us. I knew these bastards would do this. Otherwise, they wouldn't be called devils. Kill these F***ers. Kill them. Damn, this is strange. When did the bandits have so many people? They have at least 100 million warships. There aren't many bandits. Don't forget that this is the game world. These bastards must have multiplied. Otherwise, how could there be so many of them? So what if there are many? We can kill them no matter how many there are. Don't forget that Boss Yi Chun is here. That's right. What's there to be afraid of? Kill them all. While the Eastern players were discussing, the players on the folding shore navy opposite them were also discussing heatedly. Bastards, they want to attack the empire on which the sun never sets. Kill them all. Kill them all, then rob them all. Wipe them all out. We'll definitely kill and loot them all. With their small number of warships, they actually want to fight with our empire where the sun never sets. What a joke. Those on the other side, if you know what's good for you, surrender immediately and kneel on the ground obediently to beg for mercy. Then we'll let you live. Otherwise, we'll kill you without mercy. Quickly kneel down and beg for mercy. Otherwise, when our warships open fire, we'll definitely make all of you cry for your parents and flee like rats. Seeing the terrifying number of bandits and hearing their clamoring, the players from the eastern region were enraged. Yi Chun, who had been releasing his spiritual sense, smiled coldly when he saw this. What a bunch of narrow-minded bastards. No matter how good they are at giving birth and expanding their population, they're just here to train my troops. Thinking of this, Yi Chun moved his divine sense and quickly locked onto the main battleship. At this moment, an extremely strangely dressed man instantly attracted Yi Chun's attention. He was wearing a black cloak, and under the cloak was a shriveled face with a pair of extremely strange eyes that emitted 2 rays of green light. He held a black cane in his right hand, and his entire body was surrounded by a black aura. On his left arm, there was a strange snake that was as thick as an arm, and it was sticking out its tongue from time to time. It was a hair-raising sight. This bastard's appearance is so King ugly. But why does it feel so familiar? Who is it? Wait, isn't this King Su Fu? Thinking of this, Yi Chun's eyes widened abruptly, and then he looked directly at the strange man on the main battleship. That's right, it's Su Fu. Although he's a little ugly, he looks very similar to the statue. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, the cloaked Su Fu standing on the battleship suddenly looked in the direction of the reincarnation Immortal Island and asked, "You're Yi Yu of Gojoseon?" The reincarnation Immortal Valley was taken aback by Su Fu's gloomy question. Even if Su Fu was a special NPC like Elder Nanhua and the others, he was only at the mortal evolution state. How could he detect my spirit sense? Does this guy have something good on him? Or is it because of something else? Thinking about this, Yi Chun narrowed his eyes and said, "Yes, I do." "That's right. That's good. I'm Su Fu. I want to make a deal with Yi Yu of Gojoseon." Su Fu nodded and said. When Yi Chun heard this, he sneered and then shouted, "Those who invade our country will be killed no matter how far away they are." Yi Chun wasn't in the mood to make a deal with Su Fu. Even if Su Fu had something good on him, Yi Chun would just rob it. "Ha ha," Su Fu laughed. "Little brat, you're quite arrogant. You dare to say such things in front of me. It seems you're really tired of living. When I capture you, I'll definitely refine you into a pill. Increase my cultivation power. Do you really think you can win?" Yi Chun sneered in contempt. "A small soldier like you is only qualified to be my cannon fodder. If you surrender quickly, I'll let you go." Umph. Su Fu's right hand shuddered, and a black aura suddenly appeared around his body. "You want me to surrender? You must be dreaming." As soon as he finished speaking, the black color around Su Fu's body suddenly disappeared, and a cruel and cold smile appeared on his face. "It seems that you still don't have a full understanding of your own strength. When I catch you later, I'll make you beg for death." A toad yawning, "What a boastful tone." Yi Chun curled his lips and said disdainfully, "You." Su Fu stopped breathing and trembled in anger. Even the poisonous snake around his left arm opened its fangs in anger, as if it was going to swallow Yi Chun alive. The next second, Su Fu waved his hand and squeezed out a word from between his teeth. "Kill!" After the sinister shout, countless warships charged at Yi Chun's navy. They were like black clouds pressing down on the city, giving off a majestic aura. Kill! Yi Chen's eyes narrowed when he saw this, and he spat out an order that resounded like thunder and was filled with killing intent. As soon as Yi Chen gave the order, Han Dang, Cheng Pu, and Gan Ning shouted at the same time, "Master's order! Kill!" As soon as the three of them finished speaking, the flag bearers behind them waved their command flags in unison. The next second, the 300,000 heaven-level, sea-suppressing giant warships charged towards Zhe Bian's navy with an unstoppable momentum. The battle was about to break out. Murderous intent filled the entire battlefield. When the two armies approached, the sound of gears turning was heard. Stray bullets and gravel filled the entire sea. It was like a battlefield of Azura. In the Reincarnation Valley, Yi Chen's immortal will covered the entire battlefield. His face was cold and his eyes were cold. His murderous intent surged. This time, I'm going to annihilate the entire Zhe Bian. Yi Chen could easily destroy the navy, but Yi Chen wasn't going to do so, because Yi Chen still needed to train his soldiers. To be more precise, he wanted his soldiers to improve their strength with the help of the Zhe Bian navy. If Yi Chen attacked, he wouldn't be able to train his soldiers. Yi Chen didn't want to waste time like this. Chapter 893. Below the Reincarnation Fairy Island, the moment Zhe Bian's navy and Yi Chen's navy entered each other's shooting range, all the weapons on the warships were activated. At that moment, flying rocks were shot out as if they were worthless, forming a net of rocks that could be seen from miles away. The density was terrifying. Bang, 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 bang. Explosions and air-piercing sounds filled the entire battlefield. Thick smoke rose from the battlefield. In just a few minutes, half of the entire ocean region was turned into a sea of fire. Warships were destroyed everywhere, shocking everyone. What was even more shocking was that the flying rocks from Zhe Bian's warships only caused a cloud of smoke when they landed on the Zhe Bian's warships. After the smoke cleared, the surface of the warships was undamaged. On the other hand, the flying rocks from Zhe Bian's warships only caused a huge hole. If it was light, the warships would be destroyed. Looking at this scene, the Eastern players were shocked as their fighting spirit soared. EU of Gojoseon's warships are indeed extraordinary. Even if there's only one person operating each warship, they are still beating the enemy. Good. Looks like we, the Eastern players, are going to take our revenge this time. Brothers, let's attack together. Kill these bandits and take over Zhe Bian. Charge! Everyone, charge! Almost instantly, countless players joined the battlefield to kill their enemies. The fighting spirit of the Eastern players reached its peak at that moment. Originally, Zhe Bian's warships had the absolute advantage. With the addition of so many Eastern players, the battlefield turned into a one-sided state. At that moment, the warships looked over. Han Dang looked coldly at Zhe Bian's warships in the distance as a cold smile appeared on his face. In the next second, Han Dang shouted, "Middle Fleet, prepare the second round of flying rocks." Creak, creak, creak. Creak, 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 creak. As Han Dang's voice fell, 100,000 warships raised their catapults and increased their firepower to the maximum as they waited for orders. Kill! Han Dang waved his hand and roared, "Kill them all." The warships obeyed the order and started to attack. In the next second, bang, 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 countless warships started to attack. The flying rocks seemed to have eyes as they shot at the enemy warships. The sound of explosions could be heard everywhere. For a time, countless warships disintegrated and sank to the bottom of the sea. Prepare the crossbows. Cheng Pu and Gan Ning didn't want to be outdone when they saw that Han Dang had finished the second volley of flying rocks. They immediately ordered their warships to prepare for a crossbow attack. The order was transmitted very quickly. Almost as soon as Cheng Pu and Gan Ning finished speaking, the 10,000 warships automatically ejected their crossbows from their windows and loaded the specially modified and powerful bolts. Release! Cheng Pu and Gan Ning shouted in unison. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. For a moment, arrows that blotted out the sky flew out and rushed towards the warship, forming an impenetrable wall of arrows in the sky. In an instant, blood-curdling screams were heard everywhere. Countless soldiers were shot by arrows and fell to the ground. There were countless casualties. Cheng Pu, Han Dang, and Gan Ning exchanged glances and smiled. Su Fu, who was standing on the main warship, bellowed furiously at the sight. "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you all." His furious voice reverberated throughout the battlefield, like the cry of a devil. Divine power, release. Immediately afterward, Su Fu raised the walking stick in his hand and swung it heavily. The black mist on the walking stick quickly dispersed into the air. The black mist continued to expand, and soon, the seawater under the black mist began to churn and spread out in all directions. Soon, nearly 100 warships shrouded in black mist broke out of the water and rushed towards the Immortal City warship. On the warships were skeletons with swords and sabers in their hands. They were shrouded in black mist and made one's hair stand on end. It was as if one would have difficulty breathing just by looking at them. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The warships moved, and arrows were fired. The strange warships, shrouded in black mist, spat out countless arrows at the Immortal City warship. The arrows pierced through the hull of the Immortal City warship and malfunctioned the warship. How can this be? Cheng Pu, Han Dang, and Gan Ning were stunned at the sight. Then they shouted in disbelief. What kind of warship is this? The Immortal City warship was already powerless to fight back. Now, nearly 100 warships suddenly emerged from the sea and were so powerful. How could the three of them not be stunned? Yi Chun, who was in the reincarnation Heavenly Valley, was observing the battle at the border with his divine consciousness. He frowned slightly, and a hint of surprise flashed across his face. It was Yi Chun. He did not expect Su Fu to have such a trump card. Looking at the warships that were malfunctioning, Yi Chun frowned slightly. In the next second, Yi Chun sent a voice transmission to him. "Gan Ning, Han Dang, Cheng Pu, do you know what this is?" Hearing this, the three of them fell into silence. It was the first time they had encountered such a strange thing, let alone a plan to defeat the enemy. After a long silence, Cheng Pu bowed and said, "Master, according to historical records, if I'm not wrong, this ship must be the underworld ship. It is said that when Su Fu crossed to the east, he rode the underworld ship. Legend has it that the underworld ship is hidden in the sea. The soldiers on the ship are immortal and can be summoned by the underworld scepter. Therefore, the crutch in Su Fu's hand must be the underworld scepter. Whoever has the underworld scepter will be able to control the sea. In that case, it is not easy to defeat the enemy." Yi Chun asked again. "No." Cheng Pu shook his head and continued. "Su Fu can only summon nearly 100 underworld ships through the underworld scepter. This means that Su Fu still does not know the secret of the underworld scepter recognizing a master with blood. What will happen if he can make it recognize a master with blood?" When Yi Chun heard this, the corners of his mouth curled up as he asked. "He can summon 10,000 underworld ships and control the sea." Cheng Pu hurriedly bowed and said. Yi Chun chuckled and nodded, then asked, "Do you have a plan to defeat the enemy?" Cheng Pu confidently smiled and bowed. "The exorcism talisman can destroy these ships." "Good." Yi Chun laughed, and then used his divine sense to send an order to Cheng Pu, Han Dong, and Gan Ning. "Immediately attack. Whoever helps me obtain the underworld scepter will be given a great merit." Naturally, Yi Chun could tell the origin of the item in Su Fu's hand. The reason why Yi Chun asked his three subordinates about it was because he wanted to train them. After all, Yi Chun would soon become the emperor of the Karmic dynasty, so he couldn't be personally involved in everything. Yes, Cheng Pu, Han Dong, and Gan Ning were delighted to hear this. They quickly ordered their subordinates to take out the exorcism talisman that Gu Yi, Pang Tong, and Tian Feng had made and attach it to the arrows. Fire! The three of them waved their hands, and 300,000 arrows flew toward the underworld ships. "You want to use a few lousy arrows to attack my underworld ships? How laughable!" Su Fu coldly sneered, his face full of disdain. But in the next second, Su Fu's expression changed. Chapter 894. There's something wrong with these arrows. Just as Su Fu thought of this, 300,000 arrows fell from the sky. In the blink of an eye, all of the underworld ships were turned into hedgehogs. In the next second, there was an earth-shattering explosion. Boom, 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 boom. At this moment, all of the underworld ships exploded and sank to the bottom of the sea, disappearing from the surface of the sea. Su Fu looked at this scene in a daze. His face was filled with shock and astonishment. It was a spectacular scene. He had sensed that there was something wrong with the arrows, but he had never thought that his trump card, the underworld ships, would be so easily destroyed by Yi Chen's subordinates. This result was really hard for Su Fu to accept. No, impossible. Su Fu, who had regained his senses, roared at the sky with a face full of indignation. Right at this moment, an arrow whizzed over and pierced into Su Fu's chest in the blink of an eye. Su Fu, who was caught off guard, spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, blood dyed his long robe red. Looking at the flying arrow that had pierced his chest, Su Fu's face became extremely ferocious. Yi Chen, you ignorant brat, I will not let you off. Su Fu roared in the direction of the reincarnation immortal city. After he finished, he endured the pain and pulled out the flying arrow from his chest and threw it on the ground. In the next second, Su Fu shouted at his subordinates behind him, "Retreat! Retreat quickly!" As soon as he finished speaking, Su Fu's subordinates hurriedly rowed the ship and fled with Su Fu in the distance. At the same time, one of Su Fu's subordinates hurriedly informed the warship guards on both sides. However, under such circumstances, how could the warships, which were already under the control of the Eastern players, retreat as they pleased? Flying rocks and flying arrows filled the battlefield. In the blink of an eye, half of the warships that were escorting Su Fu were destroyed. Su Fu, who was fleeing in a hurry, was hit in the arm by another arrow. However, Su Fu's luck was not bad. In the end, he managed to escape from the chaotic battlefield. However, his guards were all killed on the spot. In the reincarnation Immortal Valley, Yi Chen's divine sense had already locked onto Su Fu. When he saw this, he curled his lips in disdain. You think you can escape after being locked down by my spiritual perception? Dream on. Thinking up to this point, Yi Chen smiled coldly and sent a voice transmission to Cheng Pu, Han Dang, and Gan Ning. Leave no one alive. Yes. Cheng Pu, Han Dang, and Gan Ning hurriedly bowed in the direction of the reincarnation immortal city when they heard Yi Chen's message. Then, they turned around and looked at the battlefield. In the next second, the three of them raised their weapons and shouted, "My lord's orders! Kill without mercy! Kill! Kill! Kill!" The 300,000 soldiers of the reincarnation immortal city shouted in unison when they heard the three men's orders. Bang, 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 bang. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The sound of flying stones and arrows colliding instantly rang out, and then resounded through the battlefield once again. Yi Chen launched a ferocious attack. When the players saw this, they followed suit and attacked the warships in a frenzy. Soon, the warships of the reincarnation immortal city were destroyed and sank to the bottom of the sea. At this moment, the originally blue seawater was dyed red with blood. In addition to the corpses and burning warships that littered the surface of the sea, it was a living hell. Time passed slowly. When all of the reincarnation immortal city's warships had been killed, a world announcement suddenly rang out. Ding! The Great Han Empire's general of agile cavalry, Yi Chen, has conquered the reincarnation immortal city. The world announcement rang out 3 times in a row, and it instantly caused an uproar in the world channel. Oh my god, we actually won. Ha, I didn't think that the bandits would have such a day. This is so satisfying. Yi Yu of Gojoseon is just too awesome. He can destroy anyone he wants. I'm impressed. 10,000 likes. Yi Yu of Gojoseon, just based on the fact that you destroyed the warships of the bandits. If you need anything in the future, just say the word and I'll be at your disposal. I'll climb a mountain of swords and dive into a sea of fire without hesitation. Like I said, the bandits won't do. Just Yi Yu of Gojoseon alone is enough to destroy them. Good job conquering. These bandits deserve to die. Kill them all. All right, brothers on the front lines, leave a corpse for me. I'm going to whip the corpse. If anyone dares to stop me, I'll fight them. Just as the Eastern players were discussing fervently, the Emperor of the Great Han Empire, Lu Hong, received the news that Yi Chun had defeated the reincarnation Immortal City's warships. He immediately became excited. Good, as expected of my good son-in-law. I didn't misjudge you. Looking at the urgent report from the front lines, Lu Hong, who was sitting on the dragon throne, laughed heartily and stood up. Then, he shouted, "Pass down the decree. The Great Han Empire will celebrate for 3 days. All expenses will be waived." Conquering the reincarnation Immortal City was expanding their territory. This was a joyous occasion for the Emperor of the Great Han Empire. It could not be helped. Expanding their territory was the dream of all emperors. Unfortunately, there were very few who could achieve it. And now, his son-in-law, Yu of Beach, Yi Chun of the Great Han Empire, had done it for Lu Hong. How could Lu Hong, who received this news, not be happy? How could he not be excited? Just like Lu Hong, the commoners of the Great Han Dynasty were also happy. Yi Yu of Gojoseon is really powerful. As expected of the first prince of the Great Han Dynasty, he destroyed the reincarnation Immortal City's warships with a wave of his hand. I really want to become Yu of Beach soldier. If I can succeed, I'm even willing to call you of Beach father. If Yu of Beach were to take me in as a soldier, I would even be willing to call you grandpa. You are too insincere. Get lost. Even if Yu of Beach wanted to recruit soldiers, he wouldn't choose a group of street scoundrels like you. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourselves? Who do you think you are? Calling me father and grandpa? Are you worthy? That's right. Yu of Beach. Lord Beach will accept anyone but you. Hurry up and go stay where you are. Just as the Great Han Empire was in an uproar because Yi Chun had occupied the Folded Sea region, a system notification suddenly rang out. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for obtaining 20% of Zhebian's fate. As soon as the system notification ended, Yi Chun's eyes lit up. Damn! Just by occupying the sea region, I can obtain the providence of heaven and earth, and so much providence at that. Yi Chun had originally thought that he would only be able to obtain Japan's heaven and earth destiny if he completely destroyed it. Who would have thought that by occupying the Folded Sea region, he would obtain 20% of the providence? Although it was a little unexpected, the outcome was not bad. The corners of Yi Chun's mouth curled up as he thought of this. Then he moved his mind. In the next second, the space outside the reincarnation Celestial Island suddenly distorted. Then, the reincarnation Celestial Island flew directly into the distorted space and disappeared. On the Folded Sea region's Honshu Island, the space suddenly distorted and the reincarnation Celestial City suddenly flew out. Chapter 895. The sudden appearance of the reincarnation Immortal Island, which carried the reincarnation Immortal City, instantly attracted the attention of the people on the island. At this moment, everyone's eyes widened and their faces were full of shock. What is that? An island that can fly? Is it an immortal? Oh my God, it's so scary. How can an island fly? Is it really an immortal that has descended to the mortal world? Oh my God, it's a monster. Everyone run. The monster is going to eat people. Countless fishermen on the coast of Honshu Island trembled and screamed when they saw the reincarnation Immortal Island that appeared out of thin air. They even abandoned the fishing gear in their hands and turned to flee, fearing that they would be eaten by this unknown immortal or monster if they were a step late. Compared to a large number of fishermen, the soldiers guarding the sea area of Honshu Island were calmer. Although they were equally worried and scared, they were not to the point of abandoning their armor and running away. However, very soon, negative emotions, like a powder keg that had been ignited, exploded directly in the army and then quickly spread out. What the hell is this? Is it really like what the fishermen said? This island that broke through the sky is an immortal or a monster. Whether it's an immortal or a monster, we are no match for it. Why don't we just run for our lives? But, If the general doesn't give the order, we can't run away no matter how scared we are. Fujiwara Ichiro, who was riding a tall horse and standing in front of tens of thousands of infantrymen, looked extremely solemn. Compared to the soldiers under his command, he was not much better. He was the general of these soldiers. That was true, but when he suddenly saw an island appear out of thin air and fly in the sky, he could not accept this unbelievable fact as a general. The unknown always made people afraid from the bottom of their hearts. If it were not for the tens of thousands of infantrymen under his command, he would probably run faster than anyone else at this moment. Who knows why this island is floating in the air? Fujiwara Ichiro glanced at his subordinates and asked coldly. Everyone was silent and shook their heads without saying a word. This was the first time they had seen such a strange scene. They really did not know why it was like this. A bunch of trash. Fujiwara Ichiro snorted coldly and then directly ordered, "Quickly report this to His Majesty the Emperor." Yes, under the order of the general, the horses galloped. Just as Fujiwara Ichiro sent someone to report this matter to the emperor, Su Fu, who had already abandoned his armor and returned to the capital, arrived in front of the emperor. "Your Majesty, this subject's expedition has failed. Right now, the enemy's army is about to reach our island. Your Majesty, please immediately send troops to resist and try to eliminate the enemy's army near our island." Su Fu, who still had an arrow stuck in his arm, knelt on the ground in a sorry state and said hurriedly, "What?" The heavenly emperor, who was sitting on the throne, suddenly stood up and questioned coldly, "How could something like this happen? Where are the huge Navy warships you brought with you? How is it? Don't tell me they've all been wiped out? Your subject is incompetent." Su Fu knelt down and kowtowed, then said with a heavy voice, "All the warships I brought with me have been wiped out. Apart from me, no one has returned." Boom! When the emperor heard this, it was as if he was struck by lightning. His body swayed, and he almost fell to the ground. The attendants on both sides hurriedly came forward to help him sit down. How could this be? How could this be? The emperor's eyes were listless as he muttered to himself. "Report dash." At this moment, an urgent report came from the door. Then, a warrior quickly ran into the hall and reported, "Your Majesty, there is a battle report from Honshu. A flying island has appeared in the sky. We request reinforcements." Flying island? The emperor was slightly stunned and frowned. "What is a flying island?" "Your Majesty, this flying island is the enemy's treasure. It seems that the enemy has already chased us to Honshu. We need to send reinforcements quickly." Su Fu quickly said. He had already expected the enemy to be fast, but he didn't expect them to be this fast. He had just escaped back to the capital, and now the enemy had already chased him to Honshu. This speed was too fast. Sigh. The emperor sighed helplessly and ordered, "Send the Jiang Hu to reinforce Honshu immediately." Yes. Hearing this, the warrior received the order and left. Back to the sky above Honshu. Yi Chun, who was guarding the reincarnation Immortal Island, scanned Honshu with his divine sense. When he saw the reinforcements coming from outside the capital, he smiled disdainfully. Then, Yi Chun moved his mind. Accompanied by the distortion of space, millions of soldiers and cavalry appeared on the beach in the blink of an eye. Standing in front of the soldiers were Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Zhang San, Guan Er, and other historical generals. Millions of soldiers from the reincarnation Immortal City stood in the wind. Their aura was domineering, and their battle intent was soaring. What is this? Heavenly soldiers and generals? Oh my God, why are there so many troops all of a sudden? My eyes aren't playing tricks on me, are they? This is unbelievable, really unbelievable. This is the first time I've seen such a scene. The troops were extremely shocked. They stared blankly at the scene in front of them, and each of them was talking incoherently. "Everyone, don't be afraid. This is the enemy's army, not some heavenly soldiers and generals." Fujiwara Ichiro was terrified, but in order to calm the troops, he braced himself and shouted, "Who dares to go up and fight?" As soon as he said that, everyone fell silent. When Fujiwara Ichiro saw this, He was so angry that he wanted to curse. He pondered for a while and shouted, "Whoever goes up and fight, I'll reward them with 10 boxes of purple gold." When there was a great reward, there would be brave men. This principle was applicable in any situation. In less than 3 seconds, a warrior in black shouted, "I'll do it." Whoosh! The warrior in black waved his long spear, jumped on his horse, and rushed to the front of the battlefield. In an instant, the horses' hooves were flying, and their battle intent was soaring. "Stop!" The warrior in black pulled the reins and ordered the horse to stop. He raised the long spear in his right hand and shouted, "Does anyone want to fight?" Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan and the others looked at each other, and then all of them showed disdain. "War drums!" Zhao Yun shouted. He jumped on his horse, held the reins in his left hand and the spear in his right hand. He rushed to the warrior in black and shouted, "Young man, give me your life." Under Zhao Yunjing's command, the war drums suddenly began to sound, shaking the entire battlefield like a thunderclap. "Umph!" The warrior in black looked disdainful. He kicked his legs and rushed to Zhao Yun like a tiger coming down the mountain. He was very powerful. Seeing that he was close to Zhao Yun, the warrior in black waved his right hand and aimed his long spear at Zhao Yun's forehead. It could be said that it was extremely sinister. "How dare you show off your little tricks?" Zhao Yun's face was cold. He suddenly waved his long spear and met the attack with spear. He was very brave. Bang! The spearhead met the spearhead. Accompanied by the ear-piercing sound of metal colliding, both of their arms shook. The next second, crack! Zhao Yun's arrowhead pierced the spearhead of the warrior in black with great force, and the latter's long spear suddenly exploded. Pucci! Zhao Yun's long spear simply and violently pierced the warrior in black's heart, and he was lifted high from the back of the horse. Immediately after, Zhao Yunzheng opened his eyes, seemingly casually, but with incomparable strength. He flung the black-clothed warrior's corpse into the enemy camp, crashing into a group of soldiers. Chapter 896. Victory! 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 An earth-shattering roar sounded in an instant. All the soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City raised their weapons high and cheered loudly, celebrating Zhao Yun's victory. The cheers of Reincarnation Immortal City shook the sky and was full of fighting spirit, but the troops of Zhoubian felt as if they were struck by lightning. The soldiers of Zhoubian looked at the warrior in black, who was killed in just one round. They were all stunned and full of disbelief. Dead, he died so quickly. It's over. It seems that we are really going to lose. What should we do? Why don't we just run for our lives? We will definitely die if we stay. The soldiers of Zhoubian army talked among themselves. It was very lively. Soon, negative emotions erupted from Zhoubian army. "Shut up, all of you." Seeing this, Fujiwara Ichiro flew into a rage and growled, "Whoever dares to take a step back will be killed without mercy." As soon as he said that, the army calmed down. However, this time, no one dared to go up. Fujiwara Ichiro glanced at the corpse of the black-clothed warrior and then raised his eyes to look at Zhao Yunzheng, who was standing in front of the formation. He was a little flustered. After thinking for a while, he shouted at his subordinates, "Don't be afraid. I just received a military report that the reinforcements are on their way. When our reinforcements arrive, we will definitely win." Speaking of this, Fujiwara Ichiro paused for a few seconds and then shouted, "Now, whoever dares to go up to meet the enemy, I promise that as long as you take the head of the enemy general, you will be rewarded with 100 boxes of purple gold and be promoted by 3 ranks." Compared to the previous bounty, the reward this time was much more valuable. Hearing this, the eyes of the soldiers who were afraid just now lit up. However, considering their own strength, most of their eyes dimmed quickly. "I'll do it." At this moment, a voice full of energy suddenly sounded from the crowd. Everyone looked at the voice and saw a warrior in armor holding a katana step out of the crowd. When they saw his face clearly, everyone was shocked and overjoyed. "Fujiwara Oniki? It's Fujiwara Oniki." Everyone knew that Fujiwara Oniki was the #1 samurai of the Fujiwara clan. He was known to be able to sweep the world with his mad blade. He had once fought against the Bakufu and killed 3 of the Bakufu's generals. From then on, he became famous. Now that Fujiwara Aniki was willing to help, there was hope for this battle. Not only the ordinary soldiers, but even Fujiwara Ichiro, who was sitting on the back of the horse, looked happy. He was extremely excited and cheered for him. Gue Mu, if you can behead the enemy, I guarantee that you will be the successor of the Fujiwara clan. Thank you, General. Fujiwara Aniki was overjoyed when he heard this. Immediately, his right leg bent abruptly like a crossbow. In the next second, his leg kicked off and shot out like a sharp arrow. He charged toward Zhao Yun at lightning speed. Zhao Yun was smiling coldly. Seeing that the other party did not have a horse, he simply dismounted. After landing, Zhao Yun grasped the spear in his hand and leaned forward. In the next second, Zhao Yun dashed out like a cheetah. In the blink of an eye, he met Fujiwara Aniki head-on. Whoosh! Fujiwara Aniki unsheathed his long saber, and the light of the saber bloomed. Fujiwara Aniki seemed to be waving his saber casually, but it was powerful and heavy as it chopped toward Zhao Yun's head. The lightning-like speed was extremely shocking. When everyone saw this, they were all shocked. Not to mention that ordinary people would never have such a fast saber. Even experts who use sabers all year round would find it difficult to use such saber techniques. Your saber techniques are not bad. Zhao Yun was expressionless. He shook his head and said, "Unfortunately." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhao Yun waved his long spear and easily pushed away Fujiwara Aniki's katana. At this moment, a huge force instantly shook Fujiwara Aniki and caused him to stagger backward. How could this be? Fujiwara Aniki was shocked that his attack was easily resolved. His expression changed drastically. Never would he have imagined that his killing blow would be so easily neutralized by Zhao Yunzheng in a single exchange. Furthermore, he was knocked back repeatedly by the enormous force. No, I will not lose. Today it's either you die or I die. Fujiwara Aniki roared. He gripped the hilt of his saber tightly with both hands and suddenly waved it. The blade drew an arc in the air that was visible to the naked eye. In an instant, the murderous aura around him skyrocketed. The blade buzzed, and wherever it pointed, the air directly exploded. When the folding army saw this, they were all stunned. Then, each of them widened their eyes in excitement. Whoosh! Fujiwara Aniki waved both his hands and slashed his katana at Zhao Yunzheng. Due to the friction in the air, the katana emitted a whistling sound, like the roar of a lion. It was quite intimidating. Die! Zhao Yun, who was standing in the same place as Mount Tai, shouted only when the blade was about to reach him. At the same time, the long spear in Zhao Yun's hand pierced toward Fujiwara Aniki's long saber in a simple and crude manner. At this moment, Zhao Yun's spear was like a shooting star. Its momentum was swift and fierce. Green chi surrounded his body, and his murderous aura was overflowing. Boom! The metal spearhead that was full of power collided with the blade, and sparks immediately bloomed. In the next second, a crack sound was heard. The katana in Fujiwara Aniki's hand was broken into two by Zhao Yun's violent attack. Then, it fell to the ground with a clang. Boom! Looking at this scene, Fujiwara Ichiro and the others felt as if they were struck by lightning. Their faces were full of shock and astonishment. They were so scared that their faces turned pale. Fujiwara Aniki was known as the #1 warrior of the Fujiwara clan. His strength was recognized by the entire Fujiwara clan. Now, the treasured saber in his hand was easily broken by Zhao Yun. This was really unbelievable. How could this be? Compared to the others, the shock on Fujiwara Aniki's face, as the owner of the treasured saber, was not inferior to everyone behind him. He was so shocked that he almost staggered and fell to the ground. Surrender, and you can live. Zhao Yun's eyes were like torches. With a cold face, he said, otherwise die. You You actually destroyed my treasured saber. Fujiwara Aniki was so angry that his whole body trembled. He felt that he had been greatly insulted. However, his face was filled with horror. He wanted to take revenge, but he felt that he did not have the strength to do so. Out of the corner of his eyes, he glanced at the tens of thousands of soldiers behind him staring at him. Fujiwara Aniki could not retreat. He threw away the katana in his hand, clenched his 5 fingers into a fist, waved his arms, and went straight for the opponent's door. Seeing this, Zhao Yun was holding the spear in his left hand. He waved his right fist and met the attack. Bang! Iron fist against iron fist, there was a loud bang. Fujiwara Aniki's arm made a cracking sound, accompanied by an earth-shattering scream. It hung down like a marionette. On the other hand, Zhao Yun was standing in the same place calmly and scathed. Run! Fujiwara Aniki, whose arm was broken, had a thought. He endured the pain and quickly turned around to escape, trying to leave quickly. You want to leave? Seeing this, Zhao Yun opened his eyes. With a wave of his left hand, the long spear left his hand. Whoosh! The long spear whistled and broke through the air like a cheetah. Puffed. In the next second, the long spear pierced through Fujiwara Aniki's back and came out from his chest. It penetrated his entire body and nailed Fujiwara Aniki to the ground. Chapter 897. Scarlet blood gushed out from Fujiwara Aniki's chest and instantly dyed the ground red. Victory! 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 The soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City raised their weapons high and shouted loudly. At this moment, uniform voices resounded through the battlefield wave after wave, and then continued to reverberate in the air. Fujiwara Ichiro and his subordinates looked at Fujiwara Aniki, who had died tragically under Zhao Yun's spear. Their expressions changed drastically, and the fear in their hearts surged out like a tide. It's over. Even the number 1 warrior of our Fujiwara clan can't defeat him, let alone us. Yeah, it looks like we're definitely going to lose this time. The enemy is too strong. Even if we continue to fight, won't our sacrifice be in vain? We might as well surrender. The wind of discussion blew like a gust of wind. A gloomy and depressed mood enveloped the heads of the Fujiwara clan's generals and subordinates. Walking to Fujiwara Aniki's corpse, Zhao Yun reached out and pulled out the long spear that had pierced into Fujiwara Aniki's body. Then, his gaze swept across the Fujiwara clan's army. His sharp gaze was like a knife shooting over. The soldiers who met Zhao Yun's gaze were all so frightened that they staggered back. Zhao Yun saw this and smiled coldly. Then, he returned to the side of the war horse and mounted it. In the next second, Zhao Yun pointed the long spear in his hand at the army and shouted, "Shoot!" As soon as he finished speaking, 100,000 white horses righteously shot arrows. Countless arrows instantly soared into the sky, then drew an arc in the air and fell into the enemy's camp. The flying arrows fell densely like raindrops. The soldiers on the side instantly fell like wheat that had been cut down. In the midst of this, Fujiwara Ichiro was directly hit by hundreds of arrows and died on the spot. Guan Er, Dian Xiong, Zhang San, and the other generals glanced at the defeated enemy's camp and shouted without hesitation, "Kill! Don't leave a single one alive! Kill! Kill! Kill!" Earth-shattering shouts instantly rang out. In the next second, the cavalry of Reincarnation Immortal City instantly activated their charging mode. Rumble, rumble, 10,000 horses galloped and the earth rumbled. In just a few breaths of time, the cavalry of Reincarnation Immortal City arrived in front of Zhebian's army. The cavalry's brutal and simple charging mode was instantly launched. The soldiers on the other side were stabbed to death in droves, sent flying, knocked flying by the war horses, and then trampled into meat paste by the war horses behind them. Rumble. The war horses galloped at full speed, stirring up clouds of dust. Wherever the cavalry of Reincarnation Immortal City passed by, corpses would litter the ground and blood would flow like a river. In just a few minutes, the Immortal City army had completely annihilated the Fujiwara clan's infantry. They didn't even have a chance to escape. At this time, the reinforcements sent by the Emperor of Japan finally arrived. Edo Akabuki, who was riding a tall horse and leading hundreds of thousands of cavalry, looked at the Fujiwara clan that had been completely wiped out. His eyes were filled with shock and surprise. They had never expected that the hundreds of thousands of soldiers of the Fujiwara clan would be wiped out not long after they received the reinforcements order. What's the point of sending reinforcements when they've all been wiped out? Edo Akabuki's heart was filled with a myriad of curses. Just as Edo Akabuki was filled with disgust, a large number of Eastern players suddenly appeared in his line of sight. Seeing this, Edo Akabuki's heart skipped a beat. Damn it, just the millions of soldiers in front of him were already difficult to resist. In addition, there were shrimp soldiers and crab generals rushing over from the sea. How could he fight this battle? Edo Akabuki wanted to retreat, but he didn't dare to because he hadn't received the order. However, if he didn't retreat and just fought head-on, he might not be able to gain any benefits. No matter what, he couldn't retreat. Thinking of this, Edo Akabuki couldn't help but grit his teeth and shouted, "Archer cavalry, get ready!" When Edo Akabuki's soldiers heard this, they hurriedly took out their bows and arrows and nocked them. At this moment, Edo Akabuki shouted, "Release the arrows!" Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Millions of arrows instantly flew out and shot rapidly towards the reincarnation Immortal City's army. In the next second, an incomparably dense collision sound rang out. Dang, dang, dang. When the arrows that blotted out the sky and covered the sun collided with the armor of the reincarnation Immortal City's cavalrymen. Other than creating sparks, they did not cause any damage to the reincarnation Immortal City's cavalrymen. How could this be? Edo Akabuki was shocked, and his face was filled with fear. He never thought that the archers that he had always relied heavily on would not be of any use. Zhao Yun, Guan Er, Zhang San, Dian Xiong, Gao Shun, Gao Lan, and the other generals looked at this scene with disdain. The equipment of the reincarnation Immortal City's soldiers were far superior to the strongest heaven-grade equipment in this world. No matter how the enemy attacked, they couldn't break through the defense of the reincarnation Immortal City soldiers. Therefore, the reincarnation Immortal City's soldiers couldn't be injured at all. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, and the other generals looked at each other and shouted in unison, "Kill!" After that, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and Zhang San took the lead and charged towards the enemy's camp. Uft, uft, uft. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, and the others killed the enemy as soon as they came into contact with them. At this moment, Zhao Yun's eyes flashed and landed on Edo Akabuki, who was heavily protected. In the next second, Zhao Yun's legs clamped on the horse's belly, and he charged towards Edo Akabuki. Stop him! Edo Akabuki, who had been fighting in his homeland for many years, wasn't a fool. When he saw Zhao Yun's imposing manner, he knew that he wasn't going to be easy to deal with. He immediately ordered his subordinates to stand in front of him and protect him. Facing the enemy's swarm to stop him, Zhao Yun stabbed a spear and directly lifted the soldier who was charging at the front. He then swung his spear heavily, and instantly, dozens of people were smashed into the ground. When the surrounding soldiers saw this, they were all frightened and retreated. "Go, all of you go!" Edo Akabuki roared angrily and gave a death order. "Whoever dares to take a step back, kill without mercy." As soon as these words were spoken, groups of soldiers rushed towards Zhao Yunzheng while brandishing their weapons. There were even cavalrymen on both sides of Zhao Yunzheng, surrounding him in a roundabout way. Seeing this, Zhao Yun's eyes narrowed and two bloodthirsty cold lights suddenly shot out. In the next second, Zhao Yun jumped up from his horse's back, and the spear in his hand flew nimbly and swept towards the surrounding enemy. The spear shattered the air and slashed across the necks of the surrounding enemy. Following a red trail of blood that could be seen with the naked eye, the surrounding hundreds of enemy soldiers all fell to the ground and died on the spot. The ground was full of corpses and Zhao Yun's bloodthirsty killing intent. In just an instant, the surrounding enemy soldiers scattered and fled. Who dared to block the way? Ignoring the dispersing enemy, Zhao Yunjing slowly rode his horse towards Edo Akatsuki. Originally, Zhao Yunjing's murderous aura was monstrous. Now that his body was covered in the blood of the enemy, he looked like a war god. Very domineering. Edo Akabuki stared blankly at Zhao Yun, who was slowly riding his horse. His face suddenly turned pale. Die! Zhao Yun spat out a cold word from between his teeth. Then, he raised a spear and stabbed it into Edo Akabuki's heart. Edo Akabuki looked at the spear that pierced his chest, and a trail of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Pucci! Zhao Yunjing withdrew his spear, and Edo Akabuki fell to the ground with a plop. Immediately after, Zhao Yunjing dismounted and picked up a short knife to cut off Edo Akabuki's head. He mounted his horse again and raised it high, shouting, "The enemy's main general is dead. Kill!" The soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City, who already had strong confidence, heard this, and their fighting spirits soared again. Then, they followed Zhao Yun and other generals and rushed towards the army of Jibian. Shouts of killing, the sound of horses' hooves, the sound of weapons colliding, and miserable howls were constantly intertwined, and then became the exclusive music of death on the battlefield. Half an hour later, the army of Jibian that came as reinforcements was wiped out by the army of Reincarnation Immortal City. Chapter 898. At the same time, a world announcement suddenly sounded. Ding! The Great Han Empire's general of agile cavalry, Yi Chun, has defeated the Fujiwara clan and the Edo clan's National Defense Army. He is about to attack the capital city of Jupan. The world announcement was repeated 3 times in a row, and instantly the entire world channel exploded. Oh my god! We actually defeated the 2 national protector armies of the Fujiwara clan and the Edo clan. It's really satisfying. I didn't expect that the arrogant bandits of the past would be crushed by our Eastern cavalry today. Retribution is really unstoppable. A small country like this dares to invade our East. They're simply overestimating themselves. They should have expected such retribution. Yu of Gojoseon is mighty. Yu of Gojoseon is domineering. He is indeed a boss-level existence in the Eastern region. He can destroy whoever he wants. It seems that Yu of Gojoseon is about to attack the capital city of the bandits. We have to hurry and join in. After the capital city is destroyed, Yu of Gojoseon can eat the meat, and we can drink the soup. Yes, 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 brothers on the front line, don't be in a hurry to destroy the city. Wait for us. We will be there soon. You must give us a chance to show off. Otherwise, I will be too embarrassed to drink the soup. Just as the world channel was filled with discussions and comments, a system notification suddenly sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun. You have obtained 20% of Jupan's providence. Hearing the system notification, Yi Chun's eyes suddenly lit up. Damn, I can obtain 20% of the providence just by defeating the Fujiwara clan and the Edo clan's army? In addition to the 20% of Jupan's providence that he obtained from defeating Su Fu's battleship, he had obtained 40% of Jupan's providence. Not bad, not bad. After destroying Jupan and obtaining the remaining 60%, Jupan's providence will be in my hands. Right, I can't let go of the Nether Scepter in Su Fu's hands either. Thinking of this, Yi Chun could not help but smirk. In the next second, Yi Chun willed the Reincarnation Immortal City to fly toward the lakeside capital city. Looking at the rapidly approaching island in the sky, the soldiers and citizens guarding the capital all screamed in panic. It's over, the enemy is attacking. Have you heard? Both the Fujiwara clan and the Edo clan's National Defense Army were wiped out. Even the 2 great generals, Fujiwara Ichiro and Edo Akabuki, were killed by the enemy. Now, there are only 500,000 soldiers left in our capital. The enemy is so powerful. Even Fujiwara Ichiro and Edo Akibu are dead. Then, are we really finished? Looks like the end of our Jubian is coming. I'm afraid that even the 500,000 soldiers in our capital city won't be able to stop the enemy's attack. Compared to the people who saw the reincarnation Immortal Island for the first time, they were no longer surprised by the flying island because of the news from the front line. However, they were still terrified by the arrival of the reincarnation Immortal Island. This was because not only did it mean that they had lost the battle on the front lines, but it also meant that the enemy was about to attack the capital. When that time came, there would be the risk of the country being destroyed. Report: in the palace, a soldier in armor rushed into the main hall in a sorry state and knelt down to report. Your Majesty, the front lines have been defeated. The two great generals, Fujiwara Ichiro and Edo Akabuki, were killed on the spot. Now, the enemy is at the gate. What? The two great generals, Fujiwara Ichiro and Edo Akabuki, were killed in battle? Hearing this, the emperor suddenly stood up. His face was full of shock and astonishment, as if he had been struck by lightning. Originally, he thought that as long as there were two great generals guarding the territory, no matter how powerful the enemy was, they would be destroyed. However, it seemed that the situation was completely out of his expectations and control. How could this be? I didn't expect Fujiwara Ichiro and Edo Akabuki to be killed in battle. Now that we have lost millions of soldiers, I'm afraid it will be difficult to resist the enemy's attack. Yes, now we are really in trouble. Does the heavens want us to die? Many ministers in the main hall began to discuss. Damn it, it's all Su Fu's fault for suggesting to attack the east when the eastern border barrier disappeared. I didn't expect that not only did we fail to attack the east, but we also lost ourselves. The emperor was so angry that he slammed his fist on the table in front of him and roared, "Where is Su Fu? Where did Su Fu go?" The huge force caused several cracks to appear on the table. It was obvious how angry the emperor was. Upon hearing this, all of the officials looked around, and only then did they realize that Su Fu had already left the hall. Soon, a minister came forward and said, "Your Majesty, Su Fu fled back with serious injuries from the front lines. I think he should be recuperating in his residence at this time." Recuperating? At this time, he still has the mood to recuperate? The emperor opened his eyes and said coldly, "Go, find Su Fu for me. This mess is caused by him. He must clean it up." Yes. Hearing this, the attendant accepted the order and left. After a long while, the servant hurried back and said in fear, "Your Majesty, Su Fu has already gone to Mount Fuji an hour ago. I'm afraid that by now." At this point, the attendant paused for a moment before continuing. "He can't be found." What? Su Fu ran away? Hearing this, the emperor was enraged and said, "This sinner actually ran away at this time. He is a traitor. I didn't expect Su Fu to betray us at this critical moment." Yes, he always pretended to be loyal. Who could tell that he is a traitor? Now that Su Fu has run away, we can only rely on ourselves. Hearing this, the ministers were furious. According to the servants of the Su Fu residence, Su Fu went to Mount Fuji to find a way to save the country. The servant quickly added, "Humph." The emperor snorted and waved his hand. "A traitor is a traitor. You actually found such a dignified reason. Shameless." After saying that, he ordered the servant to leave. Then, the emperor walked back to his chair and sat down. He looked at the ministers and asked sternly, "Who has a plan to retreat?" Hearing this, the ministers fell silent. The main hall was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. A bunch of trash. None of you are useful at this critical moment. The emperor was so angry that his body trembled. After a few seconds of silence, he shouted in a gloomy voice, "Pass down my order. I will put on my armor and go to war." Yes. Hearing this, the ministers bowed and accepted the order. Outside Folding Edge capital city, Yichun gave a mental command. The million-strong army of Reincarnation Immortal City, which was originally rushing towards the capital city, instantly appeared outside the capital city. Then they surrounded the huge capital city. Dark clouds are pressing down on the city, ready to destroy it. There was no phrase more suitable than this. The million soldiers were like heavenly soldiers and generals, densely packed around the capital city. Once Yi Chun gave the order, they would bare their fangs and tear everything apart. Chapter 899. Even though it was Yi Chen's first time attacking Jibian, he had made a thorough plan. Cheng Pu, Han Dang, and Gan Ning led the 300,000 navy troops to control the entire region of Jibian to prevent the players and royals from escaping. As for the hundreds of millions of Eastern players, they joined the battle as a free-for-all. Yi Chen did not care about what they were doing. In the face of the 500,000 defending Jibian, Yi Chen mobilized 1,000,000 soldiers to surround them. In addition, there were more Eastern players coming from all directions. In just a few hours, the number of Eastern players had reached 10 million. This way, even if the players and royals in the city grew wings, they would not be able to escape. Yi Chun, who was in the reincarnation immortal city, scanned the city with his divine sense and found that Su Fu was no longer in the city. The one commanding the battle in the city tower was the current emperor of Jibian. Then, Yi Chun used his divine sense to send a message to Li Yuanba, who was in charge of the siege. Attack the city. His voice was resolute and decisive. Yes, Li Yuanba accepted the order and looked at the city tower. He waved the hammer in his right hand and shouted, "Archers at the front, get ready." As soon as he said that, the 300,000 archers raised their bows and aimed at the city tower. "Fire," Li Yuanba ordered. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. In an instant, tens of thousands of arrows were released at the same time. Countless arrows shot towards the city tower, falling down like raindrops. As the arrows rained down, countless Jibian soldiers on the city tower screamed and fell to the ground. Their voices of fear and despair echoed up and down the city tower, making one's scalp tingle. Even the emperor of Jibian, who was standing on the city tower under heavy protection, was so scared that his face turned pale. After taking an arrow to his arm, he threw away his armor and ran into the palace. He left the task of resisting the reincarnation Immortal Island's army to his subordinates and did not dare to show his face again. After the arrow rain, there were mountains of corpses on the city tower. Blood flowed like rivers, and cries of agony could be heard everywhere. The soldiers' cries and screams echoed in the city. It was like hell on earth. "Kill them all." Li Yuanba let out a loud shout, and with a vigorous step, he rushed towards the city gate with 2 iron hammers weighing 800 pounds. After a breath, Li Yuanba suddenly leaped into the air, raised his twin hammers, and smashed them towards the city gate with great force. Bang! Under the 2 hammers that weighed 400 kilograms, the city gate suddenly exploded and then turned into fragments that filled the sky, splashing backward. Kill! Li Yuanba's gaze landed on the enemy within the city. 2 beams of killing intent shot out from his eyes as he took the lead and charged into the city. Although Li Yuanba's twin hammers weighed 800 jin, he was as agile as a monkey and his body was as fast as an arrow. He charged into the enemy and swung his hammers, smashing the enemy soldiers around him. He actually smashed the heads of more than a dozen soldiers. Red and white liquid splashed out in an instant, scaring the enemy into retreating. These bandits had seen ferocious people before, but when had they ever seen such ferocious people? Then Li Yuanba's body shook, and his muscles suddenly exerted strength. Because of the friction between his bones, there were instantly bursts of crackling sounds. At the same time, Li Yuanba's twin hammers were nimble in his hands. Every time he swung his hammers, dozens of people would fall. In just a few breaths' time, hundreds of soldiers were smashed into pieces by Li Yuanba and then died on the spot. In the next second, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, and the other generals led the army of reincarnation Immortal City and rushed into the city. They began to kill all the living people in the city. Yi Chen's order was to leave no one alive, so the army of reincarnation Immortal City naturally did not hold back. Time passed by slowly, and the city directly turned into a hell on earth. For a moment, smoke and dust billowed, corpses were everywhere, and blood flowed like a river. The strong smell of blood began to spread and explode in the city. The word tragic was enough to describe it. During this period, the soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City went from fear to despair. Some screamed, some cried, some begged for mercy, and some turned to run. However, no matter how they cried, screamed, or ran, it was useless. In the end, they were mercilessly killed on the spot by the army of Reincarnation Immortal City. Among the people who were killed, there were Reincarnation Immortal City NPCs and Reincarnation Immortal City players. There were both men and women, but without exception, they were all killed on the spot. Just as the army of Reincarnation Immortal City was wantonly killing the bandits of Reincarnation Immortal City, the world channel suddenly started to be flooded with messages. Warriors of the Empire on which the sun never sets, charge. Kill those damned yellow-skinned pigs. For the glory of the Empire, all of you, charge. No one is allowed to retreat. Hold on, you must hold on. If you are killed, hurry up and revive, and then chase these damned Eastern demons out of our country. Idiots, all of you charge. Don't be afraid. We are players. Kill them. Charge. Don't let the Eastern demons destroy the city of the Empire on which the sun never sets. Charge, kill them. Don't be afraid. As long as we chase them out, we will find allies and attack the East together. Kill them all. Rob them all. Burn them all. Most of the players of Reincarnation Immortal City had just killed them on the sea. Now that they had revived, they saw the tragic state of Reincarnation Immortal City and were instantly enraged. Then, one after another, they shouted all kinds of slogans and charged toward the army of Reincarnation Immortal City like madmen. They did not want Reincarnation Immortal City to be destroyed, and they did not want their country to be destroyed. Therefore, they attacked the army of Reincarnation Immortal City without fear of death. However, it was useless. No matter how crazy they were, once they encountered the army of Reincarnation Immortal City, they would be slaughtered along the way. That's right, they would be slaughtered. No matter how the players of Reincarnation Immortal City attacked, they could not break through the strong armor of the soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City. No matter how the players of Reincarnation Immortal City defended against the weapons of the soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City, the result was that they were destroyed in one hit. In an instant, the screams of killing, the screams of agony, the roars of madmen, the clashing of weapons, the sound of bodies being pierced, smashed, and sent flying echoed throughout the entire Reincarnation Immortal City. More and more players of Reincarnation Immortal City started to kill. Layers and layers of corpses were piled up, and broken limbs were everywhere. Blood could be seen up to their calves. As time passed, the players of Reincarnation Immortal City were killed again and again. Then, they would be killed again and again. After the players of Reincarnation Immortal City had been killed at least 6 times, the players of Reincarnation Immortal City finally broke down. No, D*M in it. Can someone tell me why this D*M in Yichun is so strong? We are fighting with our lives on the line, but we can't even kill one of his soldiers. Yu of Gojoseon, we surrender. We really surrender. Please let us go. D*M in it. You are a traitor of the empire on which the sun never sets. I will kill you. Shut up. Don't you see how strong Yu of Gojoseon's army is? We are no match for them. We are indeed no match for them. If you don't want your level to drop to the bottom, if you don't want to be killed by monsters in the real world, then hurry up and shout with me. Surrender. That's right. Don't think about glory. What we need to do now is to surrender, or else we will all die. Lord Yu of Beach, we surrender. Please stop attacking us. Lord Yu of Beach, we are all players. We are people of the real world. You can't kill us all. If you do, we will all disappear from the world. This is a crime against humanity. Lord Yu of Beach, you must understand this. Lord Yu of Beach, as long as you stop, we are willing to surrender tens of thousands of beautiful women. They are all virgins, young and beautiful. D*M in. The bandits want to surrender. You of Gojoseon don't agree to it. You must kill them all. This is a perverted nation, a perverted nation. Moreover, they want to destroy the East from the bottom of their hearts. That's right, you of Gojoseon don't believe the bandits' nonsense. If you want beauties, we have plenty of them. As long as you don't agree to stop, I am willing to let my sister be your concubine. Even a maid is fine. Brother Yi Chun, don't listen to the bandits' nonsense. As long as you don't listen to them, I will warm your bed for free. You don't like to have underlings, right? I can warm your bed for as long as you want. After I am done, I will leave on my own. D*MN, you are dreaming. If you of Gojoseon agrees, you can live in Reincarnation City. But then again, you of Gojoseon, you must not believe the bandits' words. Think about what they did when they invaded the East in the real world. It was a massacre. Those bastards. That's right, you of Gojoseon, you must think about this. Think about the suffering our compatriots suffered. They did not treat our Eastern compatriots as humans. You of Gojoseon, you must not agree to the bandits' words. You must kill them. Don't let a single one of them go. The World Channel was a buzz. Yi Chun, who was in the reincarnation of Mortal Valley, couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. I went abroad to fight for the fate of heaven and earth. How could I show mercy? Thinking of this, Yi Chun couldn't help but smirk. Then, with a thought, a sentence appeared in the World Channel. Go ahead and kill them. I will wipe out the Xie royalty in one fell swoop. As for the Xie players who come close to me, I will kill them all without exception. At this moment, the Xie players have been killed at least 6 times by Yi Chun's reincarnation Immortal City army. All of them had dropped below level 40. At this level, they could no longer provide much experience for the reincarnation Immortal City soldiers. Of course, this was not the key. The key was that with this level of strength, they could no longer guarantee the safety of the Xie bandits in the real world. To be more precise, even if Yi Chun did not take action now, these Xie players would not be able to escape death in the real world. After all, there was no place on Earth that did not have monsters in the real world. If their strength did not drop, they would still be able to fight against monsters and demonic beasts. But now, the overall strength of the Xie players had dropped drastically. It was impossible for them to resist the attacks of demonic beasts and demonic beasts. Therefore, the fate of the Xie players was already set. It was only a matter of time before they were completely wiped out. Of course, no matter how late it was, it would not be more than 3 days. After all, the demonic beasts in the real world would not stay still all day. It was also because of this reason that Yi Chun did not want to continue wasting time on the Xie players. After all, they were destined to die. Killing them would not give him any experience. Continuing to kill them would only be a waste of time. As for Yi Chun's words on the World Channel, other than telling the Eastern players to start killing as they pleased, it was also a warning to the Xie players that if they did not want to continue being killed, they should hurry up and scram. The moment Yi Chun's words landed on the World Channel, it instantly exploded. You of Beach, Lord Beach, can you stop attacking the capital city of the empire on which the sun never sets? We are willing to offer war reparations and beauties. No matter what it is, as long as you ask, we will agree. Yes, Lord you of Beach, we are very sincere. Haha, I told you. Boss Yi Chun will never agree to the bandits' request. Brothers, what are you waiting for? Kill. Kill all the bandits. That's right. Kill, kill, kill. The World Channel was flooded again. Yi Chun glanced at it and curled his lips in disdain. Then, he no longer paid attention to it. The Xie players did not want to continue being killed. Some did not want their capital city to be destroyed. However, they were too optimistic. Yi Chun would not be soft-hearted, let alone show mercy. Not to mention that Yi Chun wanted to fight for the fortune of heaven and earth. Even if it was to avenge the blood feud from decades ago, Yi Chun would not be soft-hearted and give up attacking Xie capital city. Under the leadership of Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, and Guan Er, the army of reincarnation Immortal City stepped over the corpses on the ground and rushed into the palace. The fastest to enter the palace was naturally Li Yuanba, who was the first to break into the city. Originally, Li Yuanba thought that no one would dare to stop him. However, just as he entered the second door of the palace, he saw a Xiebian man with a katana at his waist standing at the door. The man was 20 feet tall and muscular. He looked ferocious and had the aura of a man who could hold back 10,000 men. If you want to enter, you have to ask for my permission. The man looked up and released a murderous aura. This man was none other than Asu Kitaichi, the #1 secret guard who protected the Emperor day and night. Even the Heavenly Emperor had to be wary of his strength. You have already lost. What's the use of stopping me? Li Yuanba's face was cold as he said in an icy voice. The next second, whoosh, Li Yuanba kicked his feet and suddenly rushed out. He came to Asu Kitaichi at a very fast speed in the blink of an eye. He lifted his right leg and lashed at Asu Kitaichi's head like an iron whip. Asu Kitaichi narrowed his eyes and dodged Li Yuanba's whip kick in a strange way that ordinary people could not do. Then he clenched his right hand into a fist and punched at Li Yuanba's knee joint before Li Yuanba could withdraw his leg. The move was vicious and sinister. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that if Li Yuanba's knee joint was hit, he would be seriously injured and lose his combat ability in a short time. However, how could Li Yuanba, who was famous in the Sui and Tang dynasties, be defeated so easily? What a joke. Li Yuanba lifted his right leg and jumped into the air with the help of the rebound force. He easily dodged Asu Kitaichi's attack. Bang! When he landed, the bricks under Li Yuanba's feet cracked. Then Li Yuanba waved his fists and punched at Asu Kitaichi's waist. The whole movement was smooth like flowing water. Bang! There was no doubt that Asu Kitakabe, who was only thinking about attacking, did not expect that Li Yuanba would be able to dodge his attack and counterattack at lightning speed. He was suddenly hit in the waist and was sent flying back dozens of steps, spurting out a mouthful of blood. I'll kill you while you're sick. Li Yuanba's eyes flashed and a cold light bloomed. He took the twin hammers from his waist and jumped at Asu Kitaichi like a cheetah. Whoosh! Whoosh! Li Yuanba raised his twin hammers, and with a loud shout, the twin hammers suddenly smashed towards Asu Kitao. I'm a #1 secret guard in the palace. You want to kill me with these two broken hammers? Asu Kitaichi snorted disdainfully and pulled out the katana from his waist. He slashed at Li Yuanba's twin hammers. In an instant, the katana bloomed and the murderous intent raged. But in the next second, Asu Kitaichi's face suddenly changed. Crack! The katana collided with the hammers, accompanied by a flash of fire, and the katana broke into 2 pieces and fell to the ground. Although Asu Kitaichi's katana was broken, it did not stop Li Yuanba's twin hammers. The hammers hit Asu Kitaichi's head with great force. His head exploded, and red and white liquid splashed on the ground. More than half of his body was smashed into the ground by Li Yuanba, sinking into the soil. Chapter 900. After killing Asu Kitao, Li Yuanba waved his hammer and shouted, "Charge in and capture the royals." Then, he took the lead and rushed into the main hall of the palace. Tens of thousands of reincarnation immortal city soldiers followed closely behind Li Yuanba and rushed into the main hall of the palace. Everywhere they went, there were corpses everywhere. 10 minutes later, the Emperor of Heaven waved his flag and surrendered. Many royals, including the Emperor of Heaven, were captured. At this moment, the world announcement sounded again. Ding! The Great Han Empire's General of Cavalry, Yi Chun, has conquered Japan City. The world announcement was repeated 3 times and shook the entire world channel. F***CK. We won so quickly? This is unbelievable. Ha ha! I didn't expect that the bandits would be destroyed one day. This is so satisfying. These bandits are usually so arrogant. I didn't expect that they would be destroyed by Yi Yu of Gojoseon today. It seems like our Yi Yu of Gojoseon is really powerful. I knew that as long as our Yi Yu of Gojoseon makes a move, killing the bandits would be as easy as killing a bunch of ants. It's not a problem at all. By the way, I heard that the F asterisk King Emperor of Gojoseon has been captured. I wonder what Yu of Gojoseon plans to do with them. Nonsense. That F asterisk King Emperor of Gojoseon will definitely kill him. If it were me, I would definitely make him beg for death. He would pay the price for his previous aggression. Yes, we'll let that F asterisk King Emperor of Heaven know that the Great Eastern Empire is not to be trifled with. He must pay with his blood. Otherwise, I'll be the first to disagree. While the World Channel was in an uproar, an urgent report was sent to the main hall of the Darkhan dynasty. Report. The soldier knelt on the ground and cupped his fists together. Your Majesty, there's a battle report from the front line. We won a great victory. Japan City's 1 million soldiers have been wiped out by Yu of Gojoseon. Even the capital city has been conquered by Yu of Gojoseon. They even captured hundreds of royals, including the Emperor of Heaven. All right, Lu Hong was overjoyed when he heard this. Yu of Gojoseon is worthy of being the swift cavalry general of my Darkhan dynasty. You were able to annihilate Japan in a short half a day of time. This is the fortune of the Darkhan dynasty, my blessed general. Congratulations, Your Majesty. Expanding your territory is a blessing. All the ministers knelt down and said in unison, Rise, my subjects. Lu Hong waved his sleeves and said in a loud voice, announcing Zhen's decree, the entire nation will be reduced by 30%. Congratulations. In addition, send 10,000 cows and sheep to Yu of Gojoseon. We will personally reward 1 million soldiers. Yes. When the officials heard this, they said, Our emperor is wise. News spread very quickly. While the entire Darkhan dynasty was celebrating King Yu of Ye's conquest of the capital city, Indonesia, the southern nation, India, and the United States of America were extremely shocked when they received the news. It caused a commotion in the various nations. Unbelievable! Japan City was annihilated in an instant by the Darkhan dynasty. I thought that the Darkhan dynasty would be wiped out in the end. Never did I expect that in the end. I went for wool and came home shorn. Even I was completely wiped out in a short half a day's time. Looks like the Darkhan dynasty's strength is not to be underestimated. Yes, our Tenta had originally mobilized a large number of troops to the border of the Darkhan dynasty. We wanted to wait for the Darkhan dynasty to fight with the Jupian so that we could reap the benefits. However, we did not expect that in the end, the Jupian did not even cross the border of the Darkhan dynasty and was counterattacked by the Darkhan dynasty all the way into the mainland. They broke through the capital in one fell swoop, and the country was destroyed. That's right, D*M in it. Indonesia also sent troops to the Darkhan dynasty's border. We wanted to take advantage of the Darkhan dynasty's crisis to reap some benefits. I didn't expect the Darkhan dynasty to be fine. Instead, Japan City was annihilated. If we knew this would happen, we would have sent troops to attack Japan together with the Darkhan dynasty. We would have definitely made a fortune. Stop bullshitting. Japan was so powerful, but he was still annihilated by the Great Han dynasty's general of agile cavalry, King Yu. How can we, a small country, have the strength to fight against the Great Han dynasty? Everyone should quickly go to the Great Han dynasty and submit to it. That's right. Now that Japan has been annihilated, if we don't submit to the Darkhan dynasty, we'll be the next to be annihilated. Don't say anything else. We'll send people to the Darkhan dynasty now. Yi Chun, who was in the reincarnation Immortal City, naturally did not expect the countries around the Darkhan dynasty to submit to the Darkhan dynasty because of this victory. Instead, he was more concerned about Jupan's luck. Soon, a crisp sound came from the system. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for obtaining 40% of Jupan's luck. As soon as the system notification ended, Yi Chun could not help but frown. Now that Japan had been annihilated, Yi Chun had obtained a total of 80% of the luck. Then, where did the remaining 20% go? Could it be that the remaining 20% of the luck was with Su Fu, and only by killing Su Fu could he obtain the last 20% of the luck? It should be, thinking of this, Yichen became more and more certain of this inference. After all, Su Fu was the hidden big boss of Japan, and only by killing Su Fu, the ultimate big boss, could he obtain all the luck. Thinking of this, Yichen immediately looked at Su Fu, who had been locked on by his divine sense, and then smiled coldly. Escaping to Mount Fuji can avoid this disaster? What a joke! Just as Yichen was about to leave for Mount Fuji, Li Yuanba's urgent report came. 103 members of the royal family, including the Mikado, have been captured. How should we deal with them? Hearing Li Yuanba's urgent report, Yichen thought of the bandits' invasion of the East in those years. With a flash of cold light in his eyes, he decisively ordered, "Kill them without mercy." Back when they invaded the East, none of these bandits had done anything good. The mastermind was a member of the royal family. Now that they had captured these royal family members, if Yichen didn't kill them, wouldn't he be raising a tiger and inviting calamity? Not to mention that it was too cruel. War was so cruel. If it were Yichen who had lost today, Yichen had enough reason to believe that these bandits would also kill him mercilessly. Yes, I'll do it right away. Li Yuanba took the order and immediately slaughtered all 103 members of the royal family, including the Mikado. Then, he looted Jupon's treasury and moved all the treasures and money back to the reincarnation immortal city. After killing all the members of the royal family and emptying Jupon's treasury, Yichen did not stay any longer. He ordered the generals to clean up the mess and went to Mount Fuji alone. Su Fu was emitting a strange aura from head to toe. Yichen believed that ordinary soldiers would not be able to harm Su Fu to a certain extent. Right now, he had to personally make a move. Only then would he be able to kill Su Fu on Mount Fuji, obtain the last 20% of fate, and obtain the Nether Scepter. Of course, in addition to the Nether Scepter, Yichen believed that Su Fu, who had lived for thousands of years, must have many unexpected treasures. Chapter 901. Mount Fuji, the highest mountain in the Crescent Ridge, had always enjoyed a good reputation. Although it had the dangerous title of active volcano, the scenery there was pleasant. The pure white snow on the top of the mountain was especially fascinating. However, compared to usual, Mount Fuji was now filled with black fog and dark clouds. The strange rocks and pines on the mountain were entangled by weird vines. One could even faintly hear the angry roars of monsters. It was extremely weird. The closer one got to Mount Fuji, the more uneasy the atmosphere became. Above Mount Fuji, Yichen, who suddenly appeared here, glanced at Mount Fuji under his feet, which was covered with black fog, and then sneered. The fog is poisonous. Others may not dare to approach it, but they're dreaming if they want to stop me. After sneering, Yichen looked at Su Fu, who was hiding in the jungle with his divine awareness, and then flew straight over. Do you think you can avoid me by coming here? Yichen landed in front of Su Fu, glanced at him, and then asked, "Ha ha." Hearing this, Su Fu suddenly burst into laughter, and then looked at Yichen playfully and asked, "Do you think I'm running away? If not, why are you here?" Yichen sneered, "I'm here to wait for you." Su Fu smiled faintly, and then said, "Do you know why I want to attack the East?" Hearing this, Yichen curled his lips disdainfully, and then said, "Do you want to make the East better?" "For the East? I'm not that noble." Su Fu stood with his hands behind his back, and his eyes gradually became gloomy. He stared at Yichen like a viper, and then said, "Everything I do is just to find a way to break the restriction on me, and then ascend to the untainted land." Speaking of this, Su Fu glanced at the arrow wound on his arm, and then continued, "At first, I thought that as long as I occupied the East, I could find a way to break the restriction on me, and then ascend to the untainted land. However, I never expected that your army would be so strong. Not only did I not succeed in occupying the East, but you also annihilated all of my naval forces. You even destroyed my netherworld ship, and in the end, I returned with injuries." But Su Fu raised his eyes and glanced at Yichen. The corners of his mouth curled into a strange smile, And then he said, "When I saw your reincarnation Immortal Island, I felt that even if I lost this kingdom war, it wouldn't affect my ascension plan. Do you think my reincarnation Immortal Island can help you break the restriction on your body and help you ascend to untainted land?" Yi Chen squinted his eyes and asked. Of course. Hearing Yi Chen's words, Su Fu nodded without hesitation and then said, "I believe that in this world, there is nothing better than your reincarnation fairy island to break the restriction on my body and help me ascend to untainted land." After a brief pause, Su Fu added, "Therefore, after I escaped back to the country, I immediately went to the main hall of the capital and persuaded the emperor to send troops to resist your attack, so that I could come to Mount Fuji to find a way to kill you. Judging from your smile, your scheme seems to have succeeded." When Yi Chen said this, his eyes flashed with a hint of mockery. Then he said, "Your master, the emperor, has indeed played a role in delaying me." Master? Hearing this, Su Fu's face suddenly became ferocious. Strange worms crawled all over his face, and he growled, "Is he worthy of being my master? What a joke! I, Su Fu, have lived since the Qin dynasty. How can a mere emperor make me bow to him? It's simply a pipe dream." Accompanied by his growl, the poisonous snake on his arm also opened its mouth, revealing a ferocious and terrifying mouth. Su Fu's eyes turned cold, and 2 rays of killing intent shot out from his eyes. He said word by word, "If it weren't for the restriction on my body that prevented me from sitting on the throne of the emperor, the current emperor would have been killed by me, and I would be the ruler of Zhoubian, the new emperor of the generation. I really didn't expect you to be so scheming. No wonder Emperor Qin was fooled by you back then." Yi Chen frowned slightly and suddenly understood something. Then he said in a deep voice, "If I'm not wrong, the destruction of the Qin dynasty back then must have something to do with you." Huh? Su Fu looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. "That's right. Back then, I used immortality to deceive Emperor Qin's trust. Then, I used the divination method to forcefully strip 20% of the Qin dynasty's providence and fled overseas. It was precisely because the Qin dynasty's providence was reduced by 20% that the country was destroyed during the 2nd generation of the Qin dynasty." After pausing for a moment, Su Fu looked sinisterly at Yi Chen and said, "It seems that you of Gojoseon, are really a smart person. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to reach where you are today." But, speaking up to this point, Su Fu changed the topic and shouted sternly, "Since you met me today, you are destined to die here. Do you think you can beat me?" When Yi Chen heard this, he could not help but raise his eyebrows and ask. Yi Chen was now at the Tribulation Transcendent stage, and Su Fu was only at the Mortal Evolution stage. There was a difference of several realms between them. It was absolutely impossible for Su Fu to win. "Can't beat you? What joke?" Su Fu smiled in disdain and said, "No one has been able to walk out of Mount Fuji." Before he finished speaking, he waved his hands, and a fireball suddenly appeared between his palms. The purple flame was extremely eerie. "Netherworld ghost fire burn." Su Fu shouted and pushed his palms forward. The fireball suddenly pounced on Yi Chen and grew bigger. It seemed like it was going to devour Yi Chen completely. However, when the netherworld ghost fire approached Yi Chen, it suddenly disappeared as if Yi Chen had absorbed it. How could this be? Su Fu's face flashed with astonishment, and his face suddenly changed. The netherworld ghost fire was one of his strongest trump cards. Its power was terrifying, but it couldn't hurt Yi Chen at all. This fact was really beyond Su Fu's understanding. "Sorry to disappoint you," Yi Chen sneered and said. Yi Chen had the 5-element spirit bead. Just the fire spirit bead alone could guarantee that Yi Chen wouldn't be attacked by Su Fu's spells. Not to mention, Yi Chen also had the water spirit bead that could counter fire spells. No matter which one it was, it could guarantee that Yi Chen wouldn't be hurt at all. Therefore, Yi Chen didn't intend to dodge at all, and the result was obvious. Su Fu couldn't hurt Yi Chen at all. When Yi Chen said this, he curled his lips in disdain and continued, "What other trump cards do you have? Take them all out at once." "You," Hearing this, Su-fu was so angry that his entire body trembled, and then he roared at Yi-chan, "Okay, I'll let you see what Yamada no Orochi is." As soon as he finished speaking, Su-fu chanted a spell and murmured. In an instant, the wind blew, and dark clouds covered the sky. The beasts in the forest roared together. In the next second, the poisonous snake wrapped around Su-fu's arm suddenly rose into the air. Its body kept expanding, and it grew 8 heads and 8 tails at a speed visible to the naked eye. Chapter 902. In the blink of an eye, its body had been enlarged by 10,000 times. Its back was covered with blood-red scales, and the gaps were covered with moss and blackgrass. Its abdomen was bleeding with festering scarlet blood. Black clouds hovered above its head, which made it look ferocious and horrible. Its body was full of a strange scarlet gas, which made people shudder. Crack! Its huge tail, which was as thick as a water tank, swept gently and broke a century-old tree, which was as thick as 2 people's arms, in the middle. Then it instantly smashed toward Yi-chan. Yi-chan leaned back and agilely dodged the giant tree's attack. Then he looked up. "I didn't expect that this is the legendary Orochi. It's really amazing." "Ha ha ha." Hearing this, Su-fu laughed proudly and said, "What do you think? Are you afraid? If you are, hand over the reincarnation fairy island obediently. In this way, I will consider letting you go. Otherwise, I will let you die here today." "No, you misunderstood me." Hearing this, Yi-chan smiled faintly and said, "I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm just thinking about what good stuff would drop if I kill Yamada no Orochi." Hearing this, Su-fu slipped and almost fell down. The blood in his body was boiling, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. At first, he thought that Yi-chan was afraid. He didn't expect that this guy was thinking about what treasures would be dropped after killing his Orochi. What a bully. "Well, since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish." Su-fu's eyes narrowed, and he said, "It's your good fortune to be able to die in the mouth of Orochi." After that, Su-fu's lips moved, and he chanted a spell. Roar! Orochi looked up to the sky and roared. The air was turbulent, and the rocks and trees were shaking back and forth. When the roar stopped, the 8 heads of Orochi suddenly opened their mouths and spat out 8 balls of stinky snake venom toward Yi-chan. Seeing this, Yi-chan sneered and waved his right hand. With a buzzing sound, a protective shield made of gas appeared in an instant. Then it blocked above Yi-chan. At this moment, 8 balls of extremely stinky snake venom descended. Buzz, buzz, buzz. After 8 buzzing sounds, 8 balls of stinky snake venom were instantly sent flying and hit the surrounding rocks and trees. In the next second, the mountain rocks and trees that were stained by the snake venom all made sizzling sounds. Then, the mountain rocks and trees that were stained with snake venom instantly melted and disappeared. What vicious snake venom! Yi-chan glanced around, and then with a flip of his right hand, the Godslayer appeared in his right hand. Then he pointed at Orochi and shouted coldly, "Bastard die!" Whoosh! Orochi seemed to be able to understand Yi-chan's voice. It suddenly became furious. With a shake of its body, 2 huge tails swept toward Yi-chan like iron whips, trying to knock Yi-chan down. Not to mention 2 tails as thick as a house. Even if there were 8 tails and all of them struck Yi-chan, they would not be able to injure him at all. Although Orochi looked big, it was at most in the Purple Mansion realm. It was no match for Yi-chan, who was in the Crossing Calamity stage. This was only in the realm. If the 9 Revolutions' mysterious art of the Chaos level was taken into account, Orochi would be even less of a match for Yi-chan. To be more precise, Yi-chan's current physical body was not even afraid of fairy weapons. How could he be afraid of Orochi? "I'll cut off your 2 tails first." Yi-chan suddenly waved the Godslayer, and a green chi instantly flew out from the tip of the Godslayer, and then it went straight to the 2 huge tails that were sweeping toward him. Chi-la! Chi-la! 2 sounds were heard. Yamada no Orochi's 2 giant tails were instantly cut into 2. Bang bang! The two huge tails of Orochi were directly blown up, and then blood and flesh splashed all over the sky. Orochi, Su-fu, who was standing not far away, saw this and his face suddenly changed, and then he shouted in surprise. He did not expect that Yamada no Orochi would not even be able to resist Yi-Chen's attack and lose two of its huge tails. Roar! The pain of the two giant tails being cut off by Yi-Chen attacked Yamata no Orochi wave after wave. It stimulated the 16 eyes of Yamata no Orochi to become scarlet red. In the next second, Yamata no Orochi rushed towards Yi-Chen as if it had gone mad. For a time, the trees on the ground were smashed by Yamata no Orochi, and countless rocks exploded. Yi-Chen laughed coldly when he saw Yamata no Orochi go berserk, and then his figure shook and suddenly vanished on the spot. Just as Yamata no Orochi was frantically searching for Yi-Chen, Yi-Chen suddenly appeared above one of its heads. "I said I'll cut off your head, so I'll cut off your head," Yi-Chen shouted. He held the god-slaying spear with both hands and thrust it downward. The god-slaying spear, which seemed to be filled with endless power, pierced right into Orochi's head. Red and white liquid splashed all over the ground. The head that was pierced by the god-slaying spear suddenly exploded in the next second. Without giving Yamata no Orochi a chance to react, Yi-Chen leaped up and used the recoil from the snake's body to jump onto another snake head. With a wave of his right hand, the god-killing spear accurately pierced through the other head of Yamata no Orochi. As the god-killing spear shook violently, Yamata no Orochi's head exploded again. Roar! Orochi, who was seriously injured, twisted its body crazily, rolled on the ground, and in the blink of an eye, several big holes were formed on the ground. In the distance, Su-fu, who saw Orochi's two heads and two huge tails being cut off, suddenly had a gloomy face, and then he looked at Yi-Chen with vicious eyes and roared angrily, "I'll make you pay for this." As soon as he finished speaking, Su-fu began to chant a spell, and at the same time, Orochi gradually calmed down and went back into the battle, rushing toward Yi-Chen quickly. In an instant, Orochi's body was covered in a black fog, and murderous aura filled the air. Even its blood-red eyes gradually turned dark, and it looked gloomy and terrifying. "It's time to end this." Yi-Chen's eyes darkened, and the God-Slayer flew between his hands. Thump! Yi-Chen stepped forward, and his body shot out like an arrow. Just as he was about to reach Orochi, he jumped in the air and landed steadily on the head of Orochi. Without waiting for the other heads to attack, Yi-Chen jumped several times in succession and arrived at Orochi's 7-inch head. In the next second, Yi-Chen raised the God-Slayer in his hand and suddenly stabbed down. Su-fu's face changed, and his face turned pale. He couldn't help but scream, "Stop!" Everyone knew that to beat a snake, one had to hit its 7-inch head. The 7-inch head was naturally a snake's weak spot. Although Orochi was a legendary divine snake, it was still just a snake. Now that Yi-Chen stabbed it with the God-Slayer, could Orochi still resist? Definitely not. Just thinking about it made Su-fu's back break out in cold sweat, and his clothes were wet. After hearing Su-fu scream, Yi-Chen curled his lips in disdain, and he continued to stab the God-Slayer with his right hand without hesitation. Puchi! The body of the spear directly sank into Orochi's 7-inch head. With a bang sound, the 7 inches of Yamata no Orochi exploded in an instant, and then blood and flesh splashed all over the sky. Roar! Yamata no Orochi immediately let out a shrill howl. Seeing this, Yi-Chen pointed his left hand in the air, and a blood-red flame instantly flew out and fell on Orochi's body. Boom! Orochi was instantly ignited, and in a breath's time, it was burned to ashes. Right at this moment, a long sword that was shrouded in purple light suddenly fell to the ground. Yi-Chen looked at it, and then his eyes lit up. Kuzunagi's sword? Chapter 903. It should be the Sword of Kusanagi. The Sword of Kusanagi was one of the three godly weapons in folklore. It was about 80 centimeters long and half an inch wide. The thickness of the blade decreased from the middle to the sides. The blade was as thin as a cicada's wing and could cut through iron like mud. It was said to be the godly sword inside the body of Yamada no Orochi. Ichin originally thought that it was just a legend, but he didn't expect the sword of Kusanagi to drop after killing Yamada no Orochi. Thinking about this, Ichin raised his right hand and took the sword of Kusanagi into his hand. Looking at the sword of Kusanagi in his hand, Ichin raised his eyebrows. Although it wasn't anything special, it was still not bad. It had indeed reached the level of a godly weapon. Thinking of this, Ichin could not help but raise his eyebrows. At that instant, Su Fu's furious words were suddenly heard. "You!" Looking at the sword of Kusanagi in Yi Chen's hand, Su Fu couldn't stay calm. The anger in his heart erupted like a volcano. Before Yi Chen, he already knew that the sword of Kusanagi was inside Yamada no Orochi, but he didn't take it out for the sake of Yamada no Orochi. Now, not only did Yi Chen kill his Yamada no Orochi, but he also obtained the sword of Kusanagi. This was too humiliating for Su Fu. "What's wrong? Are you angry?" Yi Chen smirked and put away the Godslayer with his left hand. He waved the sword of Kusanagi with his right hand and sneered. "Are you disappointed that Yamada no Orochi couldn't kill me? What state are you in?" Su Fu's face sunk and he roared. In this world, ordinary people couldn't break through to the mortal evolution state. Su Fu could because he was a special person. Yamada no Orochi was a legendary existence, so it could reach the Purple Mansion state. However, Yamada no Orochi, which had the power of the Purple Mansion state, died in the hands of Yi Chen. Su Fu, who had recovered, immediately felt that something was wrong. It was also because of this that Su Fu deliberately asked Yi Chen, "What state are you in?" When Yi Chen heard Su Fu's question, he glanced at Su Fu and said, "Guess." Hearing this, Su Fu's face immediately sank, and then he roared, "Yi Chen, no matter what realm you are at, I've already said that you won't be able to leave this place today. Even if you killed Yamada no Orochi, so what? Today you will still die here." As soon as Su Fu finished speaking, a thick black mist immediately appeared from Su Fu's body. When the black fog dissipated, a muscular man with a height of 6 meters suddenly appeared on the spot. His appearance was incomparably ugly, and the clothes on his body were in tatters. A faint black mist shrouded him, making him look extremely strange. "Susanoo?" Yi Chen looked up and frowned. Although Yi Chen hadn't seen Susanoo in his previous life, Yi Chen still knew about the legend of Susanoo. It was precisely because Yi Chen knew this that he was able to recognize the muscular man's identity the moment he saw him. It couldn't be helped. His appearance was very similar to the legendary Susanoo, and Yi Chen couldn't help but think in that direction. "Not bad. At least you have a good eye." Hearing Yi Chen's words, Su Fu said proudly, "This person is Susanoo, one of the legendary gods. No matter how strong you are, in front of Susanoo, you are as weak as an ant." "Is that so?" Yi Chen heard this and smiled coldly, then said, "Is that so?" Whoosh! As soon as his voice fell, Yi Chen, who was holding the Kusanagi sword, disappeared in an instant and appeared in front of Susanoo. Seeing Yi Chen's arrival, Susanoo frowned slightly, then raised his fist and punched at Yi Chen's forehead. However, Yi Chen's figure swayed slightly and dodged Susanoo's punch. Then, with a simple sweep kick, he sent Susanoo flying to the ground. Bang! After landing on the ground, Susanoo hit the ground with one hand, leaving a big pit on the ground, and instantly bounced back up and punched Yi Chen's chest. The strong wind whistled, and even the air fluctuated. What's the use of brute force? You're not even as good as Yamada no Orochi. Yi Chen smiled coldly and suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already behind Susanoo, holding the Kusanagi sword in his hand and stabbed at Susanoo's back. Originally, Yi Chen thought that this sword would definitely take Susanoo's life, but at this time, a strange thing happened. He saw that a hand suddenly grew out of Susanoo's empty back, holding a long sword, and rushed at Yi Chun as if it had eyes. Clang! The two swords collided with each other, and a huge shockwave spread out from the center of the collision. In an instant, the mountain shook and the rocks and trees burst together. Totsuka's sword? Yi Chun's eyes narrowed, and he recognized the sword in Susanu's hand immediately. Green Lotus sword technique. Yi Chun shouted, and his spiritual powers surged, and the Kusanagi sword instantly shone with green light, and then he once again slashed at the Totsuka sword in Susanu's hand. Kacha! A sound came. The body of the Totsuka sword was directly broken, and then, with a clang sound, the sword fell to the ground. My sword? Susanu was shocked, and he looked at the broken sword in his hand, and his whole body was stunned. Not only Susanu, even Su Fu, who was sitting not far away, was stunned. At this time, Su Fu looked at Yi Chun, and his face was pale, and he quickly shouted to Susanu, "Be careful." But at this time, Susanu was looking at the broken sword in his hand in a daze, and he didn't listen to Su Fu's words. Before he could react, Yi Chun's sword pierced Susanu's throat, and then with a shake of the sword, Susanu's entire neck exploded, and his head mixed with scarlet blood rolled to the ground. The next second, bang! Susanu's headless body fell to the ground. At this time, a small mirror suddenly fell to the ground. Looking at the mirror on the ground, Yi Chun was stunned for a moment, and then his eyes suddenly lit up. Yada no Kagami. Damn, another divine artifact. Thinking of this, Yi Chun's right hand reached out, and the Yada no Kagami instantly appeared in his hand. The Yada no Kagami was also one of the 3 legendary divine artifacts, and it was worshipped by the people of Kagami, and its power was comparable to the Sword of Kusanagi. And now, not only did Yi Chun obtain the Sword of Kusanagi, but he also obtained the Yada no Kagami. It could be said that he had gained a lot. Of course, to say that it was a surprise, it was not a surprise. After all, a divine artifact was not even comparable to an acquired spiritual treasure, so there was nothing to be surprised about. However, Yi Chun was still in a good mood after obtaining a divine artifact. Putting away the Yada no Kagami in his hand, Yi Chun's eyes turned to the pale Su Fu. In the next second, Yi Chun said coldly, "Now it's your turn." Thump! Hearing this, Su Fu's body trembled, and he staggered to the ground. And then he looked at Yi Chun and begged for mercy. Don't kill me." Chapter 904. Su Fu's words were filled with terror. He was a completely different person compared to before. One couldn't blame Su Fu for this. Su Fu's 3 strongest trump cards, the underworld ship, Yamada no Orochi, and Susanu, were all snatched and killed by Yi Chun. Su Fu no longer had any chips to fight with Yi Chun. He was only at the mortal evolution state. Compared to Yi Chun, who could easily annihilate Yamada no Orochi and Susanu, he was like an ant. "If I don't kill you, am I going to let you continue to go against me?" Yi Chun asked with a cold smile after hearing Su Fu's terrified pleas for mercy. This, Su Fu's breathing stopped when he heard Yi Chun's question. At this moment, Su Fu couldn't help but feel a strong sense of regret. He couldn't help it. He couldn't help but regret it. Who told him to go against Yi Chun? Moreover, because he had Yamadaroki and Susanu as his trump cards, he became arrogant. Not only did he look down on Yi Chun, he even attacked him. Now, not only did he lose his trump cards, but he also couldn't protect himself. Su Fu took a deep breath and said, "If you keep me, I won't let you go. Who knows, I might be useful in the future." "Use him? You're thinking too much. No matter how useful you are, I won't let you go. I don't want someone who can betray me at any time," Yi Chun said with disdain. He then raised his sword of Kusanagi and stabbed it into Su Fu's heart. In the next second, Yi Chun's right hand shook, and Su Fu's entire body exploded. At this moment, flesh and blood splattered everywhere. It was a tragic sight. At this moment, the sound of an object falling to the ground could be heard. Clank! The netherworld scepter that Su Fu was holding a moment ago fell to the ground. Seeing this, Yi Chun stretched out his hand and sucked, instantly grabbing the nether scepter in his hand. Glancing at the nether scepter in his hand, the corners of Yi Chen's mouth involuntarily curled up. With a thought, he instantly forced out a drop of essence blood, which directly landed on the nether scepter. At this moment, the red light suddenly shone brightly, and Yi Chen's blood essence was instantly absorbed by the netherworld scepter. In the next second, an extremely mysterious connection suddenly appeared between Yi Chen and the netherworld scepter. When Yi Chen noticed this, his lips curled up involuntarily. At this moment, the system notification suddenly sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for becoming the owner of the netherworld scepter. As soon as the system's voice was heard, Yi Chen could not help but raise his brows. He then mumbled, "From now on, I'm the owner of this nether scepter." As he thought to this point, Yi Chen put away the netherworld scepter in satisfaction and then looked at Su Fu's body. Just at this moment, a strangely shaped piece of jade appeared in Yi Chen's sight. This was the Yasakani no Magatama. After being slightly stunned, Yi Chen soon confirmed the origin of the jade. To be precise, the jade next to Su Fu's body was one of the 3 legendary artifacts, the Yasakani no Magatama. The Yasakani no Magatama looked ordinary, but in reality, it possessed earth-shattering power. As long as it was used properly, there would definitely be unexpected surprises. As he thought to this point, Yi Chen smiled lightly. Then, he grabbed the Yasakani no Magatama with his right hand. Looking at the Yasakani no Magatama in his hand, the Kusanagi sword, and the Yada no Kagami in his small world, Yi Chen could not help but raise his brows. Damn, I've got the 3 legendary artifacts. Not bad, not bad. Just as Yi Chen thought to this point, the system notification sounded again. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen. You've obtained 20% of the providence from the folding edge. As soon as the system notification ended, Yi Chen closed his eyes to feel all the providence he had obtained from the folding edge. Then, he nodded in satisfaction. Although it was far from the providence of the 3 Kingdoms Novice Zone, it was quite a lot. After lamenting for a while, Yi Chen returned to the Reincarnation Immortal City. Then, he used his spatial ability to bring his army to the Reincarnation Immortal Island. When all of his men returned to the Reincarnation Immortal City, Yi Chen controlled the Reincarnation Immortal City directly and appeared at the border between Tintu and the East. At this moment, a large number of Eastern players, Tintu players, and native troops had appeared at the border. At this moment, the Eastern players were forced to retreat. Corpses were everywhere, and blood flowed like a river. Obviously, not only did the Eastern players not gain any advantage, but they were also at a disadvantage. Just as the players were retreating and were about to collapse, a player discovered the Reincarnation Immortal Island that suddenly appeared on the battlefield. EU of Gojoseon. It's EU of Gojoseon's Immortal Island. This scream instantly attracted the attention of all the players. EU of Gojoseon is here. Ha ha ha. Tintu can't be arrogant anymore. EU of Gojoseon, lead us to kill these King Tintu. We'll all listen to your orders. That's right. EU of Gojoseon, lead us to kill these Tintu. Let these Tintu have a taste of our East power. I believe in EU of Gojoseon's ability. As long as EU of Gojoseon makes a move, it will definitely destroy the world. Destroying these Tintu will be a piece of cake. That's right. Compared to EU of Gojoseon, these Tintu are trash. Crushing them is as easy as crushing an ant. Amidst the discussions of many Eastern players, the news that Yi Chen was going to attack Tintu quickly spread to the World Channel. The World Channel was in an uproar because of this. What? EU of Gojoseon is going to attack Tintu. Isn't it too fast to attack Tintu right after destroying Jibian? So what if it's fast? As long as EU of Gojoseon makes a move, is there anything that can't be done? EU of Gojoseon destroyed the entire Jibian in half a day. I believe that it won't take more than a day to destroy Tintu. A day? Aren't you underestimating EU of Gojoseon too much? I bet that it'll take half a day to destroy Tintu. What's the point of talking so much nonsense? Tintu is about to be destroyed. If we don't hurry up and pick up the scraps, when are we going to wait? F***, I almost forgot. Hurry up. Otherwise, there'll be nothing left if we're late. I heard that some players have already arrived. Huh. I've already bought the war horses. I'm already prepared. You fools are really slow. The World Channel was constantly flooded. After many Eastern players learned that Yi Chun was about to attack Tintu, they quickly rushed to the border between the East and Tintu. Great Han Empire, Luoyang Palace. A soldier quickly rushed into the main hall of the Imperial Palace, then bowed and said, "Your Majesty, the latest battle report from the front lines." After Yu of Gojoseon destroyed Jibian, he directly turned to attack Tintu. It seems that he wants to destroy Tintu. Chapter 905. Lu Hong, who was sitting on the dragon throne, was stunned when he heard this. Then his eyes lit up. In the next second, Lu Hong stood up excitedly and then laughed out loud. "That's right. Great. Congratulations, Your Majesty. Congratulations, Your Majesty." All the civil and military officials bowed to Lu Hong and said loudly. Zhang Li, who was beside Lu Hong, glanced at all the civil and military officials. Then he bowed to Lu Hong happily and said, "Your Majesty, Yu of Gojoseon has just gotten married, but he has already opened up new territories for you. He is really a God-given son-in-law and a mainstay of the great Han dynasty." Father Rang is correct. We didn't think that our good son-in-law would be able to reach such a level. Lu Hong laughed after hearing Zhang Li's words and then said. After that, Lu Hong's eyes lit up. Then he looked at Zhang Li and said, "Issue an edict. You of Beach and Yi Chun have opened up new territories for me. You have made great contributions to the country. You will be rewarded with the right to not bow before the royal family." "Yes, Your Majesty." Zhang Li was slightly stunned when he heard this. Then he quickly bowed and said, "Your Majesty." Lu Hong's reward seemed to be empty. In fact, he had promoted Yi Chun to the status of king. This meant that he wanted to share the world with Yi Chun. Although it was not explicitly stated, this was the truth. It was also for this reason that Zhang Li was stunned when he heard Lu Hong's words. At the border between the East and Tintu, Yi Chun, who was in charge of Reincarnation Immortal City, glanced at the battlefield below Reincarnation Immortal Island with his divine sense. Then, with a thought, the army of Reincarnation Immortal City appeared on the border in an instant. The moment the 41 million Reincarnation Immortal City army appeared, a soaring fighting spirit rose from the battlefield. Immediately after that, the 41 million Reincarnation Immortal City army emitted a brutal, cold, and extremely strong killing intent. Inside the border of Tintu, millions of war elephants were lined up in rows, and on top of the war elephants were Tintu's soldiers with spears in their hands, ready for battle. The Eastern players had suffered many defeats at the hands of the War Elephant Corps. Seeing the appearance of Yi Chen's army, the Eastern players, who had suffered a great loss, instantly felt their blood boil. "Yu of Gojoseon, this is the War Elephant Corps. You must destroy them and help us wash away our shame. Yu of Gojoseon, my younger brother was trampled to death by the War Elephant Cavalry. If you help me take revenge, I will definitely follow your lead in the future. My arm was chopped off by these Indians. If Yu of Gojoseon can avenge me, I will be eternally grateful to you." The Eastern players started yelling, their words full of hatred for the Indian War Elephant Corps. "I will fight you personally. Let's see how strong you are." "Oomph." Zhang San snorted. Seeing that the opponent did not take out a weapon, he casually stabbed the spear in his hand into the ground. The next second, Zhang San flipped over and jumped down for the back of the war elephant. Suddenly, he leapt towards the Mu. With a shake of his arms, his muscles instantly bulged. At the same time, the sound of bones rubbing against each other rang out like beans being fried. Just as he was about to come into contact with the Mu, Zhang San's right leg, which seemed to be filled with endless strength, kicked towards Demu's shoulder. With such a strong attack, if he was hit by this kick, his shoulder bone would definitely shatter on the spot. Demu's expression instantly turned serious. However, to be able to become a general of millions of war elephant troops, he naturally possessed great strength. How could he not be able to withstand a single blow? Demu's figure swayed, and he dodged Zhang San's right leg as nimbly as a monkey. Thump! Zhang San's right leg landed on the ground, creating a huge crater in the ground. Soil instantly splashed in all directions. Seeing this, Zhang San smiled coldly. Then, he moved his leg and charged toward Demu once again. The moment Zhang San arrived in front of Demu, his fists danced and smashed towards Demu's face. This simple and violent attack made it impossible for Demu to dodge. Thump! Although Demu did not want to be hit, he was still hit by Zhang San's fist, which was filled with astral wind on the left side of his face. A mouthful of bloody teeth instantly flew out of Demu's mouth. At the same time, Demu's entire body was sent flying. At this moment, Demu's eyes were filled with deep disbelief. He had never imagined that Zhang San, a Han general, would be so powerful. Just one punch had nearly crippled him. After tumbling in the air for more than 10 times, Demu finally regained his senses. The moment he fell to the ground, Demu slapped the ground with one hand and leapt up. Demu did not want to lose face in front of his war elephant army. Although being sent flying by a single punch was already embarrassing enough, compared to getting up elegantly, it was the latter. At least he could save a bit of face. Compared to the ferocious appearance he had when he appeared, Demu was now battered and exhausted. Not only was the left side of his face bruised, more than 10 of his teeth had fallen out. Even the armor on his body was covered in dust. Again, Demu tugged at the corner of his mouth, which was in intense pain. He glared at Zhang San with a ferocious expression and then charged towards Zhang San. He waved his fist, which was filled with astral chi and was filled with the might of a tiger. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.